Report in.
Red 10 standing by.
Red 7 standing by.
Red 3 standing by.
Red 6 standing by.
Red 9 standing by.
Red 2 standing by.
Red 11 standing by.
Red 5 standing by.
Anybody want to guess what studio we're in today? I can't wait to play this solo on Wednesday. That's me. That's your boy. Been dialing my sound in for the last, week and a half. This is the first time I've ever played like a full set in Vegas. It's going to be fun. Lots of fun. Live from Las Vegas, this is the Rational Mail. Ooh-yah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's for you, Kyle. That applause is just for you. Kyle, producer Kyle's in the seat. We are back at the battle station. We're back at Red One Studios. Thank God. All right, here we go. Oh, can you hear her? Oh, you can't. There you go.
She's muted.
The Gen Z really doesn't have traditional dating periods.
Yeah.
It's you're just kind of hooking
There's
up.
no definition
and it's
to
talking,
anything.
hey, we maybe should go back to like traditional dating. You know, my girlfriend's a Democrat. I'm like, well, get out.
This is Ashley St. Clair.
How does that happen?
I don't know. And that's what I said. I said, there is a fundamental difference in the values of Democrats and Republicans. That's not going to work. I mean, what happens if she gets pregnant? No one wants to commit or be in a traditional like dating.
Right.
It's these weird talking stages, and their talking stages mean like the hookup phase. Why do we have so many people making choices that really are against our biological nature? I feel like this is a majority of the Gen Z girls and the whatever they're calling that other generation. They really fell prey to this hookup culture. They're
Her entire life has been one big lie.
understanding that it's not making them happy. If you're a young man looking for a more traditional relationship, you
Go
know,
to church.
Yeah, I just feel like they have to live. You know, you have to walk the walk, and you can't be calling for traditional lifestyles if you yourself are involved in hookup culture and things like that. Social media contributes to the problem of people always thinking there's something else out there. Well, you know, I could do better. I think it's more important to be have shared values rather than interests. I think interests are temporary and can be switched out and changed. You want to promote family values and tell everyone to have families, and that's your purpose, but it's also very hard for people to do that now. So
There are a bunch of people trying to take your kid away from you as well.
Yeah, exactly. You have people who can't raise families the way that we're supposed to. They are really trying to take our children from us.
I'm 38.
How does it feel to be 38?
I'm single, not married, I don't have any kids.
What's the reason you're single?
I'm pretty picky and I don't want to settle in life. Dated a lot of great people, but the right person just hasn't come along for me yet.
What is something you thought was really important when you were younger, but as you got older, you realized it wasn't that important?
I feel like a person's always wanting the best career, buy a house. Then you get to a point in life where you realize a lot of those things really aren't that important, and I think it's just the simple things in life.
What are the simple things that really matter?
I think it's family, relationships, being able to spend that quality time with people rather than sitting in an office building. I think it's worth not having as much, living on less and enjoying life more.
So if you could go back in time and have a conversation with your younger self, what would you tell her?
I would say that life is just how it's supposed to be, and every twist and turn is the path that God has had you on, and so don't look back and regret, and
There it is. Throwing up for the big guy in the sky.
don't be sad about the things that didn't happen, because there's a lot of life to look forward to.
Married to one person from every single country that there is, because I want citizenship in every single country that there is, and marriage is the only way through. So, one person from every country, I need you to stand up. Will you take me? Number one, will you marry me? Number two is, these are the things that I can do for you if we get married. So, number one, you get me on your arm. I mean, what a pleasure that is. Two is, I'm
Whatever else there is, that'll be it, right?
quite a good cook. I can make you beans on toast. I can make you a jacket potato with beans. Overall, I could just make you some great meals. And number three.
You know, there's this thing, it's called like what? not DoorDash. What is it? What's the one where they send you the food and you have to cook it yourself?
I like to think I'm quite a kind soul. I'll be willing to do anything for you. You want a foot massage? No worries, babe.
I'm not looking for a foot massage. I'm looking for a little something else.
On it.
Oh my Lord.
Marry you! You're too good for me! Not even me! You are too nice to me! I'll be less nice! Your gifts are too specific! I'll give you a gift card! I'm sorry! You're too emotionally supportive! It's the money! You make too much money! I'll quit my job! I'll do improv!
I'll do improv.
No! I can't do it. I can't. My mom likes you too much. No, you're too in love with me. So are you. What? You're too committed. Fine. Well, we can be poly. What? I mean, you could be poly. Fine. God damn it. Are you not running after me?
I found my oldest fan via Facebook, and when I asked for his address, he actually sent me the address of a care home. So I'm actually here with him and his friends, and I'm gonna show them a good time. Today I'm at the care home visiting my oldest fan.
You guys, do you get the grift now? Do you understand the grift now? Does everybody understand the grift now? Okay, good. Because here's where it leads.
See your one-of-one custom 458 Liberty Walk.
I'm ready.
Fully customized in blue wrap, carbon everywhere, wide body kit. You know, one of my favorite things. Congratulations, Bonnie.
Thank you.
To your new.
I got to stop and give you a little bit of context here. Remember, this is the same woman who, 3 shows ago, I just did. She was talking about in that video how she's actually not pregnant. Okay. Wow. Good. We figured that one out. That was really tough, wasn't it? She's not actually pregnant, but she's taking all the money she made off of tooling everybody to think that she was pregnant, to take that money, right? Remember what she said? To give it to some chick who was trying to get like in vitro fertilization or like some nebulous, like, you know, unnamed whatever chick to actually have babies because she couldn't have babies and the money was going to go to her. I'm thinking not now.
458 Liberty Walk. Whole car's obviously been wrapped in blue as you requested. The brake calipers have also been changed to blue. You can see the engine covers, which were red before, have now been painted in blue. And you've got obviously the full wide body
When I asked for
kit.
the brake lights to be changed.
That's impossible. I mean,
No, I know. I forgot there was brake lights.
Fully customized interior, so all the seats have been done to blue. Blue seat belts, blue dashboard, blue on the steering wheel as well. Carbon on the door cards, blue just behind the seats.
That looks
You've
really
also
cool.
got your personal touch where it says Bonnie Blue on the headrests.
Oh, that actually looks really good.
You guys don't like the Ferrari? Yeah, I don't. It is a badass car. No, not what I would have got custom.
Best one night stand you've ever had? So many. I mean, I had so many fun one night stands in my 20s and 30s. I once had sex with this guy. What was his name? I like to be able to call people out with their first and last names, which is going to be hard for this because I don't even remember his first name. I was at the London Olympics in 2012, I believe. I was walking home late one night and this really sexy British guy, we just locked eyes and it was like sex. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's something you would see in a movie. I'm like, what if I just had an affair with this guy? And I walked past him and I stopped and I turned around and he had stopped. And it was late at night. Like, this was dangerous. You know, it could have been. He said, would you like to come back to my place? That was the first thing he said.
Remember how like nervous women are in like parking lots and what dark college parking lots and how they're so worried about their own personal safety.
Eye look that we had was so intense that I was like, yes. And we went back to his house. I mean, we barely spoke. I went over there every night after the Olympics for a week, had a full-on affair with this guy.
Kids.
Yeah, I know.
Do you have a plan?
We sort of do. We definitely want them sooner rather than later, and it's definitely not something that we're pushing off. We've talked a lot about, you know, how we want that to look. I think, you know, it's been a big part of us transitioning our careers. He came from the corporate world, and when we got married, completely flipped his life upside down, and he started his business. He's totally independent now. He controls his schedule, totally flexible.
That's amazing.
And it panned out, and it's, supporting me, but it's also done
Perfect.
incredible things for him, which is great. I think that has been, for the last year, that's what we've been trying to work on, just so that we can have that flexibility.
Come see his house and talk business. And he flew me over there. I was there for a day. He was talking about starting a paywall, trying to figure out how to monetize content. So we took a couple of photos. One's in the cigar lounge, and then I flew home. Just because I flew over there and talked to him doesn't mean there was anything sexual that occurred.
Once you've been a fighter, what other competition matters? Like, how can I possibly have interest in putting a ball in a net when I've been smashing people's skulls in for 15 years?
I'm a divorce lawyer. I was a pastor for over 20 years.
And the topic we're exploring today is something many people are reevaluating: marriage.
I can spot stupid a mile away. Over 50% of marriages end in divorce. But the statistic nobody pays much attention to is that 86% of people who divorce are remarried within 5 years.
To me, marriage is making a commitment before God to another person, and it's spiritually loaded with blessing. So if there's not a supernatural element to it,
Well, God hates marriage. So if the stats are anything, like, even though you're saying God calls us to marry, you might as well call us to jump out of airplanes without
or maybe
Today's conversation is not just between your average pastor and divorce lawyer. On one hand, we have James Sexton, a seasoned divorce attorney with thousands of cases under his belt. His raw, unfiltered insights on modern relationships have earned him a massive following and made his podcast appearances viral sensations, often amassing millions of views. On the other hand, we have Carl Lentz, once one of the most influential pastors in the world. After a highly public downfall and facing the brink of divorce himself, he rebuilt his marriage from the ground up. Now, alongside his wife Laura, he shares hard-earned insights on relationships through their podcast, which topped the documentary charts on Apple in 2024.
whoever said that, like, we're picking wrong, how can you pick who's going to be great year 20 when you have a mental breakdown?
I don't think anybody who's married doesn't occasionally want to sleep with other people. The question is there space for that in your marriage?
Ethical non-monogamy.
Yeah. I don't think that in all circumstances, being 100% monogamous is necessary for a relationship to function well.
I'll tell you a story. I don't know if I've ever said this.
Oh, you've said it before. Trust me on that one. All right. Put me back in. Where we are. There we are, Coach. All right. Jeez. Whew. Are we catching up? Are we good? Oh, we're good. Yeah. Are we good? Okay. I'm just looking because I'm really digitized on my screen right now. Let me know if the video's okay. I think it should be okay. There we go. I threw that in there because I want to talk about that a little bit today. Hey, how's it going? Wait. Hey, there we go.
Hello there, children.
Yeah, back in the saddle. We're waiting on a good friend of mine, Joe Marin, who is my partner in Reignite. We're going to talk a little bit about that today too. But I wanted to first make an announcement. Once again, I will be playing with my band Jinx at this place called the Bonfire. Bonfire is this. What would you call the Bonfire? The Bonfire. I wouldn't call it a dive bar, but it's like if there's like if dive bar is like level D, this is like level C or level like B minus, you know. But it's funny. It's like I announced it on Access Vegas last time we were on, and everybody's like, "Where is that?" And they're like, "It's across from UNLV, and it's down the street from Centerfolds." Yeah. So it's on Strip Club Row, basically. So strippers, come on! It's at 8:00. It'll be on Wednesday. There's 4 bands. Mine is one of them. And I don't know. It's luck of the draw. I don't know if we go first, if we go last. I do know that we're going to be there and we're going to give it our fucking best shot. I haven't done a battle of the band since I was like fucking in my mid-20s, man. And I'm like, this is going to be fun. And what's fun is Jake Cope is my drummer, and he's just like beside himself. Like, he's like, I'm gonna play and roll those band. I'm like, dude, I'm not that big a deal. Not in this arena anyways. But then I got Ricky Sterling as my bass player. I've got Connor Hetzel as my singer, and then me, of course. So we will be down there 8 o'clock. Pinch harmonics. Fuck yeah, pinch harmonics. I'll pinch your fucking harmonics. Yeah. So then there's the clip. But yeah, I just I wanted to point a few things out before I just make that quick announcement. If you see some video clips of me promoting it on Instagram or on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck it's not called Twitter anymore. Okay, well, Twix. How's that? Can we call it Twix? Yeah, because that's basically what it is now. Nobody calls it either one these days. So anyways, yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna it's funny you should say that. Booze, music, and strippers. There is a stripper pole in Bonfire. So just saying. Yes, it's definitely there. As I said, it's on Stripper Row as well. So it's I'm doing my best. Now this is my working theory. Okay, I told Mike Sartain this. I said, look, if Mike Sartain's social circle game will work at clubs like Zook or Omnia or Hakkasan, it should be universal, correct? So if you show up to a show or a club or something, and you've got like 10 to 12 girls that are hot piece of ass stripper girls in tow with you, you should be able to do exactly what he does, right? And very regularly and provably successfully so, right? But it should be universal, right? So if you went to Stoney's, which is the country bar that's here, it should work at the country bar. And it should also work at Vamped. It should also work at the Bonfire. So this is you got to remember, this is also sort of like a proof of concept on top of everything else.
In Yellowstone. No.
Yeah, so it should, I mean, within context, let's just say. So if you go to a goth club and you show up with like, 8 or 10 hot goth chicks, you should be like the life of the fucking party, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should work. So we're gonna put that to the test on Wednesday. So that'll be a lot of fun. If you haven't checked it out, please do. Also, I have new merch. I'm up on Sticker Mule right now. So if you just go hunt for Rollo Tomasi on Sticker Mule, I've been adding it to a lot of my Instagram stuff. You can get Jinx t-shirts. You can get Red One Studio t-shirts there too, which I have. You can get Access Vegas t-shirts there. So I have decided that I'm going to do Sticker Mule as my place. So, okay. So anyways, I wanted to dig into an article that I got today. I mean, people are kind of wondering, like, why did Rollo choose today's topic for this? And I got I subscribed to Rob Henderson's Dr. Rob Henderson's Substack, and he's got a new one out that came out this morning. It says, to raise birth rates, pay people to get married. Paying people to have kids overlooks the crucial step first. Of course it does. You're never going to pay people to increase the birth rate. But so my point of today's topic was going to be birth rates. But then it changed into marriage. And I'll tell you why it did, because at the end of this article, it always seems to be the metric, right? It's always marriage is always the litmus test, or a healthy monogamous relationship. Like that's the goal state. And so I wanted to dig into this just a little bit. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It is kind of a longish article, but I will get down to the end of it here in just a minute. This is how it starts. It says, despite family-friendly social and economic policies, birth rates are falling in many rich countries, which is true. It's like actually all over the world. I should also say there's this traditional conservative angst or worry or something about being under replacement birth rates in the United States. Now, if you go to places like South Korea is just falling off a cliff. There's not going to be any South Koreans very, very soon. Same thing with Japan. Japan is trying to find some ways to sort of incentivize people to have kids. And it's really, I mean, maybe other than China, and I think maybe even China, they're doing it too. There's been a push to get people to have more babies, right? And nobody can figure out the mystery. Why is it so low, right? Well, the mystery actually started right around the mid-70s for the United States. So if you look at the fertility rates right around 1971, that's when fertility rates started to fall off in the United States. And then right around 1975, we got below replacement level for the first time in American history. And since then, it hasn't risen above I have I'll show you guys the stats later. It hasn't risen above replacement level. It did briefly in 1985, and then it's just been below replacement level ever since, to the point where we're at like a really, really low level right now. And so now suddenly we're all concerned, right? So a recent article in the Financial Times notes that the past declines were driven by families having fewer children, but now people are skipping having children altogether. Nobody really knows what's going on, the Financial Times writes. It's not primarily driven by economics or family policies. It's something cultural and psychological. An economist analysis published last year offers an answer to the mystery. Many assume that declining birth rates owe mainly to college-educated women delaying motherhood, putting off having kids for too long, and ultimately having fewer children than they wanted. This belief has shaped policy responses, emphasizing tax breaks and subsidized child care to help women balance careers and families alike. But according to The Economist, that's not actually what is happening. Okay. Though college-age women are having children later, the shift is minor. In the United States, the average age of first-time motherhood for this group has risen only slightly from 28 in 2000 to 30 today. So the average age of first birth in the United States in 2025 is 30 years old, which, by the way, is also the average age of first marriage for women in the United States as well. These women still have about as many kids as their peers did a generation ago, just slightly fewer than what would be ideal, which has always been the case. Now, the real drivers of falling fertility rates in wealthy countries, it turns out, aren't professional women, but younger, poorer women who are delaying childbirth and ultimately having fewer children. So we have fewer poor children. We have fewer poor women having those kids as well. Okay. So in the United States, more than half of the fertility drop since 1990 comes from a sharp decline in births amongst teenagers, partly because more of them are attending college. Even among those not going to college, birth rates are down. In 1994, the average first-time mother without a college degree was 20. Today, about 2/3 of women without college degrees in their 20s still had their first child. Okay. A generation ago, poorer women often had children with the hope that doing so would lead to marriage and family stability. This bet rarely worked out in promises I can keep why poor women put motherhood before marriage. This is in 2005. Sociologists Catherine Eden and Maria Kefelis chronicle research from the 1990s and the early 2000s showing that when these women had a baby, 8 out of 10 of them, 80%, were still in a relationship with the child's father, and nearly half lived together. In other words, most single mothers weren't truly single at the time of their child's birth. Now, remember, the last numbers that I have for this is that 42% of children are born out of wedlock in the United States right now. That's in the 21st century, being a bastard child is almost a point of pride at this moment. But that's what we used to call it. That's why we had a name. We had a determinant for that, a distinction. This is a bastard child, meaning a fatherless child. But we're only fatherless. Why? Because of marriage. Because there wasn't a marriage certificate attached to that child. See, the thing is, and this is one thing that I've talked about in a few other shows in the past, is that marriage is a litmus test. Marriage is the benchmark by which we gauge so many things. Like somebody was asking me about fathers, involved fathers, like, oh, they're deadbeat dads, right? Involved fathers, and particularly in the black communities, like the black men tended to just ejaculate and evacuate, right? At least that was the previous belief, but it turns out that that's false, because black men and white men as well want to be involved fathers. But the thing is when we say fatherlessness, and when we term it as fatherlessness rather than single mothernessness, we don't have the same. It doesn't have the same kick. It doesn't have the same kind of appeal, or it just, maybe it's neuro-linguistic programming or something like that, but it just does not have the same punch in the face as fatherless homes, uninvolved fathers. And the only reason we say they're uninvolved, and the only reason we say that they are quote unquote fatherless, is because the mother is not married. Ooh, that came on pretty good. Hey, bring that down a little bit too when you get a chance. Look, check this shit out. That's good. I know Joe's coming pretty soon. But the reason why we the terminology that we use is very important. Okay, so when we say fatherless homes, or we talk about like where are the fathers, it's very easy to sort of point blame. And when we're talking about the actual numbers, the only reason why we call them fatherless is because the mother and the father are not married. That doesn't mean that the father is uninvolved. That doesn't mean that there's not, the guy doesn't want to be, or they might even be living together. But because there's no marriage certificate between the mother and the father, we call it fatherlessness. We call it we just basically say he just doesn't want to be a part of that, which is bullshit. Perhaps they've had kids and they just simply don't want that contract between the two of them. So just pointing that out. Last thing here. In other words, most single mothers weren't truly single at the time of their child's birth. They were unmarried but partnered. When asked about partnered, we don't count partnered in any of this equation, right? When asked about their future, nearly all of the women expected to stay with their partners and eventually marry them. By the baby's first birthday, though, half of all of these couples had split, though. And by the time the child turned 3, 2/3 had already gone their separate ways. Okay? So then we've got this. Their millennial and Gen Z children witnessed this failure, absorbed its lessons, and grew up not having kids. This is him talking about his book. So he says, as I described in my book, I lived in homes during the 1990s and 2000s with 2 girls who became mothers at 16 and then had another child at 18 and another at 20. All with different fathers. Interestingly, they only had daughters. Right. Those girls are now in their mid-20s. None have children. The kids also lack any key advantages their mothers had. And this is where I take issue with Rob. First is a mental template of a stable family. Most baby boomers and Gen X women had children out of wedlock, had grown up in intact families, and believed marriage was in the cards for them. I will tell you right now, the defining distinction of Gen X, because I am Gen X, is the fact that we are the products of broken homes. So maybe as a millennial, Rob just doesn't understand this, but I was a latchkey kid. My parents split up in the 70s. Like, I think I was probably like 8 or 9 years old when my mom and my dad split. And that's the thing about Gen X. Gen X is actually defined by the fact that they're like Kramer versus Kramer. I don't know if you guys remember that old movie, right? We were defined by our ability to be resilient in the face of our parent of being what's called a broken home at that time. So I will tell you right now, that's probably his first like sort of strategic mistake right there. Today, many baby boomers and Gen X women who had children outside of marriage are grandmothers without parents. Without that extra support, they're less able to help their daughters raise kids. Okay, I'm going to keep moving along here because a lot of this is just statistics here. But here's the thing. I'll just read this very last part here. The idea that marriage doesn't matter is what I call a luxury belief. Now, he's the one, like, this is Rob Henderson who has coined this term, luxury beliefs. Okay. A luxury belief is an opinion that confers status on the affluent while inflicting costs on the lower classes. Now, I love you, Rob, but he's kind of been playing this elite versus sort of working class, mid class. Because of course his background and everything else, I can sort of understand why he wants to sort of break down the quote unquote elitism or statusism. I'm not really sure if that's a thing. At a 2017 Senate hearing, Harvard political scientist Robert Putnam stated this: rich kids and poor kids now grow up in separate Americas. Growing up with 2 parents is now unusual in the working class, while 2-parent families are normal and becoming more common amongst the upper middle class. Affluent people, particularly in the 1960s, championed sexual freedom, and loose sexual norms soon spread to the rest of society. Now, let me explain something to you. There's a reason for that. They did, like the baby boom generation didn't just go to Woodstock and go, "Hey guys, come over here. We're gonna get everybody round up. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna love the one you're with, man. You know, it's all groovy, man. We just fuck whoever we want to fuck, right?" That didn't happen. The only reason that happened was because of a little thing called the sexual revolution. And the sexual revolution happened. Why? Because we had hormonal birth control. There was an invention, Rob. It's a new technology. It was called hormonal birth control. And for the first time in history, you could fuck and not worry about getting pregnant. That's what triggered the sexual revolution. That's what triggered the rest of this shit. Okay. So, what do you say? Oh, yet in the upper middle class, largely maintained by intact families, experimenting sexually in college, perhaps, but settling down later. Lower class families fell apart. This deterioration continues. In 2006, more than half of American adults without a college degree believed that it was very important for couples with children to be married. By 2020, that number had dropped to 31%. Amongst college graduates, only 25% say that marriage should come before parenthood. Their actions, though, contradict the luxury belief most college-educated parents in the United States are married. Okay, the vast majority of people still say they prefer to marry before having children. Well, let's see. One of the richest motherfuckers in the world would probably disagree with you. In fact, he's got Trump's ear. So before we start going mouthing off about like whether or not it's right or it's wrong for a child to be born out of wedlock, I don't think too many people really care about that. What they say is proper and is appropriate is not necessarily what the actual practice ends up being. And a matter of fact, if nothing else, we tend to glorify it. So when I listen to traditional conservatives talk shit about what, Nick Cannon? Mm-hmm. How many kids he got now? Like 8 kids, and how many baby mamas?
Shit, I'm gonna find out right now.
Yeah, find that out for me. Give me the stats on that. But like, I don't want to hear shit about Nick Cannon anymore. If you're going to go and say, that Elon's a swell guy.
Never mind. 12 kids.
12 children.
6 different women.
6. Wow. We got two apiece, right? Or averaging 2 apiece, averaging 2 per chick, right? And I remember listening to that, and people were just giving so much grief. And okay, so it's a black thing. No, it's not a black thing, because look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk has 14 kids. He just came out with the 14th one. That's why I started out with Ashley St. Clair, because I listened to Ashley St. Clair and her. And by the way, hat tip to Milo Yiannopoulos for giving me that video. He I don't know if he made the compilation or somebody else did, but I picked it up from him. Ashley St. Clair, in all of her appearances on Tim Pool's show, is just mouthing off about this is proper and this is not proper. And this is the same bitch who basically had a baby with the richest motherfucker in the world. Right. So I don't want to hear, especially coming from traditional, women, traditional tradcon women, trad femmes, ladies, just like cut your losses right now. Okay. Let me finish this. It says the vast majority of people still say they prefer to marry before having children. As a society, we could encourage poor, unmarried young people to marry first and then have kids. Many countries now offer financial incentives for childbirth, but since most people want to marry before having children, why not incentivize marriage first? Of course, you could do both. First, offer money to people to get married. Good luck with that, man.
No, you're wrong.
And then pay them more to have kids. I don't think they're going to pay them. Probably give you like some really steep tax breaks, but I don't think maybe get a stimmy check, and maybe in South Korea you get a stimmy check. Married people tend to have children. By encouraging marriage, we could naturally help raise fertility rates. All right, I think a lot of this is a little bit naive. And again, I have the deepest respect for Rob. I think he means well here, but the more Rob is out of school now, he's got his doctorate, he's got his book, he's doing his book tour, and hey man, more power to you. I like his stuff, but I will tell you this right now: fixing that stuff is not going to fix Western civilization. It's not going to get the fertility rate up anymore until we can fix our own fucking psychology. Until we have to do something about marriage. That's the first thing. We've got to find some kind of marriage reform. And people have asked me this, well, what's the solution, Rolo? What I would say is it's marriage reform. We need to really redirect our understanding of what marriage is, because we're still trying to figure out what marriage is in the 21st century. and we're trying to do it with really 18th and 19th century moralistic ideals about marriage. So instead of trying to offer financial, solutions to things, I mean, we just throw money at it, right? It's not like people look at like, who wouldn't want to go get married? Like I put that one chick on here who was talking about how she wanted to marry somebody from every single country in there. I mean, is that the girl you want to give a stimulation check to? I don't think so. So I was looking at that and I'm just thinking to myself, it's like we need a fundamental change in our psychology about this. And I think the first thing we need to do is really sort of understand what marriage is, because we're still trying to figure out how to do marriage in the 21st century. And we're coming up on being halfway through the first quarter of the 21st century, right? So as I've said before, we're looking at, poly, we're looking at, closed on his end, open on her end, open on both their ends. You got the Destiny and the Melina model of marriage, which is nobody's friend. And then, what does marriage actually mean? Close on my end, close on her end, which is what I do. So, I'm hoping for a comeback, but, and to answer a few people's questions, because this always gets me, is like, I don't know where people get this bullshit, but people say, well, Rollo, he only married his wife because you knocked her up. I did not. I was married for 2 years before we had our kids. So we did everything the right way. Fuck you. But again, the right way. The right way is what? Marriage. Get married and then you have kids, instead of get kids and then get married, right? Which of course is what Rob was talking about. From 1990 all the way up to where we're at right now, women wanted to get married, or they want to get married, but they didn't know how to go about doing that. So what do? They try to lock down the guy with the baby. It's a baby trap. That's what Ashley St. Clair was trying to do with Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk is not going to have anything to do with that crazy bitch, but that was the plan. That's there's nothing more 90s than that kind of baby trap. I'll tell you that right now. And I think we know who else is
God wants you to have the
who
baby.
also got trapped in all of that.
Definitely
shit. Yeah. God, man, fresh dodged a bullet. But that's I love it when people hit me up and they go, do you think she'll keep the baby? Of course she's going to keep the baby. He's the richest man in the world. Now I threw that out there and that was funny. It was a little irreverent, I guess. But the thing is that's a commonality. It's in the playbook. It's a strategy. It's a mating strategy. It's a sexual strategy. But it's a mating strategy as well. When women get pregnant by a guy, whether or not they keep the kid is proportionally dependent on how much money that guy has. So when everybody goes, "Oh, bravo, Ashley St. Clair, you made the right choice. You chose life." Of course, she chose life. She chose money too. But that's an easy call. That's an easy illustration. That's a very extreme illustration. So it's not hard to figure out. It's not hard to figure out what the decision for Ashley St. Clair is going to be, or this new chick for baby number 14, who still we have no idea what that's about. Dude, within 1 week. Yeah. Within 1 fucking week. This guy's a fucking machine. Let me get to some of these super chats here right quick. Sir, a huge thanks for saving my future. I'm 20. Yes. Good for you, my friend. Go forth. Back on Dios. Okay. I should make a t-shirt. Back on Dios. Which generation do you think is most culpable for the current state of marriage? Baby boomers or Gen X or millennials, or do they all equally share the blame? Well, I'll tell you what everybody's going to say, and then I'll tell you what I think. Everybody's going to say it's the boomers. Okay. The boomers fucked us up. It's that free love. They're all degenerates. Baby boomers are in their 70s, man. They're the biggest proportion of the baby boomers right now are in their 70s, pushing 80 right now. So, I don't know where the hell did this generational hate come between Zoomers and boomers? What? If anything, you would think Zoomers would come at Gen X, but I guess maybe they know better than to come at Gen X's, which is fucking chew through them like a rat, But I'll tell you who's going to blame. Who everybody loves to blame. Everyone loves to blame the boomer generation, because they're the first generation that made decisions based on hormonal birth control, and then the sexual revolution, the social impetus that followed in the wake of that technology. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing. It's not like they go, hey guys, let's all get around. Again, we're all at Woodstock. Hey, come over here. Let's see if we can fuck up society. They didn't do that. They go, there's this new technology and it's hormonal birth control. And now women have been empowered, and only women, by the way, only one sex, have been empowered to have sex for their own enjoyment. Right? They don't have to worry about a pregnancy. And I don't think enough people really appreciate the impact that technology has had on humanity at large. If you've read my fourth book, Religion, in the introduction of that book, I state this in no uncertain terms, is that the advent of hormonal birth control, the technology, had more of an effect and had more impact globally and historically, and will continue to have into the future historically, more impact on the human race than atomic weapons. We have the ability to wipe ourselves out right now, no problem. But now we're wiping ourselves out in another way. And I brought this up with George Gammon at one point, and I was on I think I was out in where was that? Oh, we were out in Florida, actually. I think it was after we did an appearance, I think in 2022 on Patrick Bet David's show. And then we had another show after that. We talked about Malthusian economics, right? And Malthusian population control. And again, I don't want to get too Illuminati kind of like conspiratorial here. But the thing is that when you have the ability to wipe out the entire planet, the entire population of human beings on the planet, you still need to find some way to do population control. So we had wars to do that. World War I, World War II, we had, a few conflicts here and there. We still kind of do it that way a little bit, but we can't go whole hog like we did before. So what can we do to control populations into the future? Well, there's this new technology, and it's called hormonal birth control, and only women control it. And so if you go and you look at some of the technologies or the social challenges or the social issues that we've dealt with over the course of the last really 65 years, you're looking at all roads lead back to one invention, and that is the popularization of hormonal birth control in 1965. So when we talk about which generation, I think we're going to point at the boomers, but I don't think it's entirely the boomers' fault, because they were the first one. They didn't know what the news technology was. Okay, go crack it. There you go. All right. It's like, I'm gonna make some noise. Okay, so it's all right. Yeah, this is my show. You can make as much noise. On Access Vegas, we have to keep everybody quiet over there. Let me get to the rest of these right quick. And then let's see. Social circle game is harder than cold approach because reputation is at stake. Bad reps make you radioactive to women. Yes, if you overdo it, if you develop a reputation that is, let's say you're just known for being sort of creepy or being maybe overdoing it. I think really when I talk to Mike about social circle game, which is his thing, as you guys know, you're building something up. And if you're building up a bad foundation, that can hurt you. Whereas if you're just doing like cold approach, no, it's cold, like you're fresh, nobody knows. So, but yeah, I would definitely say so, but you've got to be, that's another thing, is you just have to do it in measured doses here. John McGill, hey, thanks for that, man. Well, let me see if I can give that to you. There you go. I noticed you seem to have a disdain for Aspie men. You mean Okay, Aspie. Spurgs. Okay. Was your dad on the spectrum? No, my dad wasn't on the spectrum. My dad was like old school. We'll get back to that. From the tales you tell of his atheism, love for Dawkins, I don't know if I say love. I was just curious. No disrespect, as your awesome role. Thank you. Part of my Sunday routine. The only reason I have a disdain for like Aspie guys or Spurgs, and I don't have a disdain per se, because I know some guys who are just, I know that they're on the spectrum and they know they're on the spectrum and they kind of have a healthy way of dealing with it. I'm going to bring up a guy's. I'll bring up his alias. His name is Rugby. Rugby is a great dude. Okay, definitely. He's out there, but in a good way. Okay, I love him like a brother, but because I know him and I know what his sort of quirkiness is, I can sort of work within that. It's like hostile, malevolent spurgs that I have a real problem with. It's because you can't have a conversation. You're probably referring to a tweet that I made earlier this week, which was it's impossible to have a conversation or debate. God forbid you have a debate with the guy on the spectrum. Okay. Because they always have to have the last word. And I was referring to Glenn Lawrence from last week's show, definitely on the spectrum. But the problem, or I could say like Alex from Playing with Fire, these are guys who always have to have the last word. And to the point where it's like OCD. And the OCD, the obsessive compulsiveness of it is usually something that lingers and they hang on to it. Like, for instance, I had the stupid idea of actually talking again to Alex from Playing with Fire, thinking we were going to have some sort of debate. And I did so because I was asked by Mike Sartain to do it, right? And so I did. I kept my end of the bargain up, but I told Mike from the beginning, I said, it's just going to be an inquisition. It's not going to be a debate. We're not going to have any substantive conversation. It's just going to be, remember when you lied about me on April 4th, 2021? And, and it's just everything is cataloged on a fucking, you would think it is cataloged on an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. And it's really that Excel spreadsheet exists up here. And so everybody always has to have the last word, and it's just like, it's best to just not even bother with that. Was my dad on the spectrum? No, he was definitely not on the spectrum. My dad was the most pragmatic, most practical, most nose to the grindstone, but still kind of oblivious to the game. He was very much blue pill, but if I was to describe my father, I would call him a delta. That's according to like Vox Day's sociosexual hierarchies. My father was definitely a delta. And that's my father comes from I guess you would call it the silent generation. He wasn't a boomer, but it was the generation that was in between the greatest generation and the boomer generation. And so he was like it's what they call the silent generation. And so in fact, a lot of Gen Xers, their parents were from the silent generation. And so my dad was always a hard worker. He always he believed in trusting the process. And so it was always, you go to work, you put in an honest day's work, get an honest day's pay, you get your pension at the end, and then you go live in the villages in Florida and play golf until you die, right? That was pretty much it, right? Never happened for him because the sexual revolution happened. And so all the rules that he thought were everybody else was playing by got thrown out the window. So if I was to call my dad, it was like, if I had to like sort of pigeonhole him, I would definitely call him a delta. Lower population, lower economic growth. Line goes through the right and down. Get fit because this is where the fun begins. Yes, I was going to say this isn't a death sentence. This is you got to look for leverage in all of this stuff too. So, if Elon wants to up birth rates, he needs to invent X pods to birth the next generation, like in Logan's Run. Yeah, the problem with Logan's Run is you die at 30. Yeah. Was there any pushback from the Pearly side after last week's stream? Yeah, there was actually. They decided, as I said, they always have to have the last word. So there's a 7-minute video, and basically it's just Glenn Lawrence's excuse to go and make me look bad in a thumbnail. But I'm done with Pearl, as I said before on the last show. I was sent a couple of videos that she had deleted, and I can tell she's kind of depressed. I almost feel bad for her. If I could feel bad for her, I almost do, because her brand is dying. It's almost dead right now, and I think she knows that. That's why she's doing subscription drives. Demonetization basically like cut the oxygen off for her, and she doesn't know what she's going to do with herself because she was never about the red pill in the first place. So I can always go back to writing. If I lost my channel, or if I lost demonetization, God forbid, please keep those super chats coming in. I got to pay this guy over here at some point. But yeah, the brand that was Pearl is not what it was. And I could say that about everybody, myself included, by the way. But as I was saying in my predictions for 2025, a lot of the people who are sort of riding high in the game are going to be wondering what to do with themselves in 2025. And Pearl is definitely one of those people. And I was going to show some of these. I got these little short videos that she ended up deleting. I was fed from somebody within her organization. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just done with it. If anything, please just go away. The best thing you can do is just go away. Women want attention. Can't it be avoiding drama? I think you fundamentally misunderstand the nature of women. Women need indignation. It's a drug, and if she doesn't get her drug from you as a drug dealer, she's going to get it from someone else. So, and the answer to your question is no, because if they were, they'd be men. And then lastly here, as a kid, my family was united. As the females grew, the family drifted apart, but met occasionally. One of the females started working. Family broke apart. We only meet at funerals now. That's sad. Jesus, man, bring it down. All right, let's bring it back up. What's going on there? What's up with you, Joe? Got my good partner, Joe, here. Now, people don't understand that Joe and I are in business together.
We are.
What we call it.
Exactly. Just got off a great call with some of the guys in Reignite Alpha.
Yep.
And so I'm here hanging out with you.
Awesome. So I wanted to, we can talk about anything we want to. We're just bullshit today. This is my show. But I did want to get, because I keep getting questions from people, and we get, I had the link to Reignite in my streams. It's like the second or third one down. In all of my streams for really since June is when we started doing Reignite, or we came up with the idea.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't really launch until like August or September, but we were kind of like doing proof of concept right around June. And Jesus Christ, I brought this up on last week's show, as a matter of fact. I think one of the reasons I wanted to start doing Reignite was because I wanted to be more involved. And I wanted to be able to do one-on-one stuff. I wanted to be able to talk to guys face to face. I realized, like Mike Sartain has his own thing with Men of Action, which I'm still a part of. I'm still doing affiliate stuff with them. Nothing has changed. But Mike's has a demographic of guys, and they have a really set of specific interests. And I think probably the best place to start is to sort of like make the distinction between like what Reignite does and what like MOA does. And we started this out originally because we were like looking at some of the guys who were part of the MOA immersions, and a lot of like, how many do you think he gets? Like 20 per monthly immersion?
Yeah, right around there. Yeah.
Out of 20, probably like 4 or 5 of those guys might have been like our age.
Well, I think there's a little more than that actually. Yeah, like 6 or 8.
Yeah. And so they're there, and of course they want to get laid, but for the most part, a lot of these guys are sort of like restarting their lives. They're just sort of they're picking, and I'm proud of them, to their credit, to pick it up, because a lot of guys decide that they're just going to check out. They're going to either self-delete, or they're just going to just simply sedate themselves, or they're just going to go stagnant, and they're just like, it'll never work for me. I don't know how I don't know how the sexual marketplaces work. I don't know anything about this. A lot of them coming out of bad divorces. And in some cases, 10, 20 year divorces. Right. And so these guys, their game skills per se, or their understanding of intersexual dynamics is all obsolete at this point. So apparently, like, for instance, like I've been married for 28 years. If I were to say, if I was like to get divorced today in my 50s, if my dating skills were from 1996 when I got married, right? That's a long time. That's a long ass time, man.
It is, to
have to like come back. It's like being, I joke around and say it's like being unfrozen from cryogenic freeze after a while. And like I don't like to make this comparison.
He's got his mojo though, baby.
I know, he does. Yeah, it can happen.
Mojo rules.
It can happen for me. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah, roll of triceps. Would you like there's your horseshoe? Okay. But no, I think a lot of guys need help, right?
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
I don't even like. I really dislike the term influencer. I really dislike the term guru. I really dislike the term. People call me a teacher or something like that. Whatever. Okay, fine, but like I think when we decided to do this, it was coming from a place of like, we want to be serviceable. We want to be able to, actually make an impact in these guys' lives. I have shown this several times. I think I did the last time I showed this, this handwritten note that I got from this mother of 2 sons, was saying, thanks for giving me my sons back because I gave them your book and it saved their lives and turned them around. They were really going on aiming in a bad direction because of their lack of understanding female nature. And she's like, I know I don't have a daughter-in-law because of you, but I'm glad I don't, because I really hated those people.
Yeah.
And so in some ways I kind of help people and I don't even realize that I'm helping them. I remember the first 21 convention that I did in 2017, and I had guys actually fly out from the various states just so they could meet me. And like, I remember being right there. My wife was right there with me too. And the guys just in tears, just saying, thank you for saving my life. I would not be, my kids have a father because of your work. And that was the first time I realized it was something bigger than myself. And in a way, I kind of get that feeling with Reignite, because I wanted to do something that's substantial, instead of people just saying, well, you're just an author, which I'm just an author. Thanks. But you're just a podcaster. You're just
but you're talking to people all the time, right?
Yeah, I am.
You're talking to men all the time.
Yeah.
In your Patreon group here today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're there helping people already. Yeah, exactly.
But I want to give, like, a lot of people keep saying that the red pill is long on rhetoric and it's short on solutions. And so I decided to work this program out to help guys create their own solutions. So I think that's the starting point for Reignite, was to make sure that each and every guy that has an individualized problems can use the tools that we give them so that they can create their own solution. So it's not a cookie cutter. It's not like 12 rules for life or like 7 tips to get chicks or anything like that.
Yeah.
These are the building blocks of what you can use to sort of unfuck your life, but like rebuild your life. And then a little bit later, we started realizing that there's younger guys that needed the help too, because they were just clueless and they still wanted to get laid. They'd still be a part of MOA or something like that, but they wanted something that's a little bit more substantial. They wanted something to sort of help them rebuild themselves. And that's why we came up with the name Reignite. Right. So, but, and then it's really kind of weird for me because I've never done a program. I've never done videos. I've never done any of this kind of stuff before. I've never done a class before. I've never done it. Like, everybody I know says, you're so under monetized, man. You need to go and do a Kajabi class or like a convert kit class or something. How do I do that? Even Aaron Clary has done that. I've never done that. So that's, we're building a community. We've got a good school community, SKOOL community going on. And I notice a lot of guys, like Rich Cooper has his group right now, but it's like 1%. It's like way much more like elite level kind of thing. Mike is much more, boots on the ground. We're going to go out in the clubs and do kind of stuff, and I think we're like a little bit more comprehensive, than all of that.
Yeah. Well, part of it's just like the idea is to get guys out to be social.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first part.
Get them out the door. Yeah.
So, like me having gone through a divorce and then isolating myself, I understand that and they came to a point where it's like, I'm going to go do more this year than I did the last 5 years together. Just get out. And that's the biggest thing for a lot of these guys. It's like, hey, let's just find your hobbies, what you like, and then go be part of that community. And through that and being more social, you'll start to meet the women that you want to be around, and you'll able to interact with them. We have guys that haven't ever been on a date to guys that are very gregarious and talk to women all the time, right? And everything in between. So like you're saying, it's getting guys back out into the world and stop staying at home and isolating.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think Harold will mind if I use his name. I won't use his last name, but I have a guy who he still is in my Patreon group. His name's Harold, and he's kind of been patient zero for us, I think, in a way. And I think he'll get a kick out of that too. But we've been working with Harold for quite some time, and I'm glad you and we have Jim Kilgore. I wish Jim was here too. Jim Kilgore, myself, you, and a few other people that are sort of working in the backfield here. But when we started working with Harold was a tough case, man. Spoke very softly and wouldn't raise his voice and anything. We still like enunciate, has the duck walk. I didn't even realize he had the duck walk until you guys pointed that out. I never would have got that. Yeah. And then stylistically, he was, for his personal style, his clothing and stuff like that, he just was rudderless. And so he didn't know what to do with himself. And but you'll notice what the first thing he asked me is, am I good looking enough to to get back into the sexual marketplace? Because he was coming out of a very nasty divorce. Still, I think he's just about done with it now. I talked to him on our last Wednesday, I guess, or no, it would have been Friday. I talked to him. I think you asked him in one of your calls, what is your purpose or something like that. You were trying to determine what his purpose was. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about, because he's older than I am, by a year or so. And he was mentioning something about how he wanted to take care of his kid, his son. That was his purpose. He wanted to make a good chunk of change while he was still able to do so. And he came up with about 3 different items. And one of those was kind of strange because he asked me this question. He says, do you think that those are appropriate? I'm like, who the fuck am I to tell you what's appropriate, bro? That's you, right? You get to die. And it kind of struck me at that point when he was asking me about that. People always tell you, don't compare yourself to other people. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. And it's that, that standard guru thing. And I've never got behind that kind of stuff because I think human beings naturally compare ourselves to other people anyways. That's how we get a goal, right? Mm-hmm. Like if I see a guy at the gym, like when I go to Powerhouse, I feel small at Powerhouse. That's why I go there. Like when I go to my wife's gym, I'm the biggest motherfucker in that gym, and I'm not that big, right? Because comparatively speaking, right? But I'm still there comparing myself to all these guys. Like Hide Yamagishi he's shorter than I am, but he is fucking yoked. Yes. Or my other buddy Alvaro he's a fitness competitor, and he's maybe about my same height, maybe a touch taller. And people say, "What's your fitness goals?" That dude right there, that's my fitness goal. You don't want to compete? No, I want to look like that. But that's I think that's mainly how guys are. Like when we naturally compare ourselves to other people. And I don't think there's necessarily
we have a poster of Arnold on the wall, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or we have motivational quotes by other people, and essentially you're just taking what they said and sort of like taking it to heart, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we're social animals as human beings. We depend on other people, and we still compare ourselves to other people. And I don't think, there's a healthy way to do that, and there's an unhealthy obsession with that. Yes. So if you're constantly, I can't, other people are going to think about me. Is this appropriate? That's a whole lot different animal than a healthy respect for other people. And
I think some of it's just like realizing what's possible, right? So seeing Arnold or whatever, that's, hey, he can do it, I can do it, as opposed to comparing myself to Arnold. So you're talking about healthy, unhealthy. Healthy is, hey, that's my goal, versus unhealthy is like, I'm less than, so I'm going to tear myself down because I'm not there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of integral to what we've been doing with Reignite too, is because I want it to be personalized. It's not a one size fits all thing. We're going to help you. We're going to give you the tools to develop yourself into the best version of yourself. Now, the best version of me might not be the best version of Harold. The best version of Harold might not be the best version of someone else, right? Because I've noticed over the years that guys have individual problems and they require individual solutions to those problems. Now, are there commonalities between them? Absolutely there are. But are there common mentalities amongst them too? Yes, absolutely.
And that's why it's good for the guys to be in community, so they can hear each other's stories.
Right.
And then they can relate, oh, that sounds like me. And then when someone asks a question that relates to what you believe in or what's happening in your life, now you realize that, hey, I'm not alone. There's other guys going through the same stuff.
Yeah. So the band is playing on Wednesday, and I have so many guys going, how do you find the time to do all this stuff? And or else it's haters going, imagine being as old as this guy is and doing all this. I'm like, yeah, you can imagine all you want, man. Have fun imagining it, because I'm having a blast doing it myself. So, but I like that we sort of, as I said, that comparing ourselves to others, but I like that we can sort of get to know the guys on an individual level as well. Because now I'm kind of like invested in Harold's story almost. And so when I see him succeed, it's like when you being a teacher and seeing your student like excel in what it is that they chose to do for whatever their career path or whatever it is that they wanted to do. That's the biggest compliment to me, is to see what other people do with the tools that we give them. So when we're at like Babes in Toyland and I see Harold of all people with like talking to two chicks at the same time, I'm like, I never would have believed that back when he first joined my Patreon group, right? And so like what gets me is when I listen to these guys, like I'm not going to name names, but just everybody from the Peanut Gallery talking about how old guys are just like convincing themselves that they still got it or something like that. I'm like, well, it's been my experience that like if you can get it back, for sure.
Yeah. For sure.
Now more than ever. So
just got to bring the mojo.
Yeah,
that's it.
So I think when people want to know what it is that we're doing in Reignite, what would you say that we're doing in Reignite?
We're getting guys back out and living great social lives and having great romantic dating lives. And then there's the emotional component, being able to handle your emotions as they come up.
Yeah. And then I think we also, like when we sort of set the charter out here. I mean, we've always talked about money, muscles, and game, right? But I think we kind of distilled it down to health, wealth, and relationships. And so we've got like a really good network of guys. I'm not above saying, hey man, I don't know shit about crypto, So if you want to get your money together, like the money side of things, your finances, your wealth side of things, I know the people to talk to.
Yep.
I know his brother. I know I know the guys in the crypto community, which by the way, was it PulseCon?
Yeah, PulseCon.
PulseCon was out here.
Pulse Tour 369.
Yeah, hat tip to PulseCon for this week. That's a community. Like I don't know how this happened, but I'm a kind of a big deal in the crypto space. Right? Everybody wants to talk to me, and I kind of understand, because a lot of those guys go from zero to millionaire in a very short time. Too much, too young, too fast. And whenever I do an affiliate thing with Miguel and Charlie, I try to point that. I try to make it functional. I try to make it something that people can actually use instead of just like a sales pitch all the time, right? And that's usually what we talk about, is those guys getting together. What do we got here? Did I go to LA last week? No, I did not. Here, let me put this up. Did you go to LA last week? I didn't see you at Academy. Thank you for all your work. I just finished your book today. Thanks, Nolan. No, I didn't. I was unable to. I'm sorry. God, I promised my wife I wouldn't talk about my freaking tooth, but I'm going to let the deal go down. Nobody wants to hear about your sickness. Okay. No, I had a split molar, right on this side right here. Thank God it was the backmost one, because if it had been in between, oh man, that would have been a whole different ball game. So I had to have it removed, and it had to be removed in 2 parts, and which sucked. It was worse. I think up here mentally, it was worse than actually what happened. But I got a really good doc, and the guy he didn't recognize me as Rolo, but like he was a pretty cool dude to talk to. He's Korean, but he may as well be like a white guy from the United States, because that's how he talks. So he went through the process, told me what was going to happen. They had to split my tooth down the middle, which is like this way, right? And then pull it out in 2 sections. Right? Okay, so I'll save you the gory details. First section, no problem, pops right out. Second section didn't want to give. And he asked me before the procedure, he says, you're from like a Scandinavian country or something, aren't you? Like Norway or something. I said Denmark. He's like, yeah, okay. So you've got like Viking blood. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess. And he's like, well, what that means is, because they were looking at my x-rays. And apparently if you're from like Nordic descent or like Germanic Nordic descent, you have like thicker bone structure. right here, so you can like take it on the hip. Which, by the way, it's felt like I got punched in the jaw. And he says usually that's okay, but he said in this case it's a real problem because the second part of the tooth didn't want to come out of the jaw, and so. I mean, literally, he's up on the seat, like these at one point. I'm like, what the fuck? And I don't feel a thing, but I hear everything, and I'm like, and crunch. And so it pulls out half of the other half of the tooth that comes out. Can't get the other, and he's like, I know this is gonna sound weird because I've been like, I was trying to help him, like, pull it down or whatever I could do, right? He's like, just relax your jaw. And we'll see, so I did, and it kind of came out a little bit, but then he had to get the bone saw or that little saw thing, which is all you hear, by the way, and then cut it into 2 pieces and pulled it out that way, right? So then it was out. And then they had to put bone graft in there. And so they put bone graft in, packed it in, sewed me up and all this other stuff. Now, the reason why I wasn't, all of that to tell you why I didn't go to LA this week, I was going to go. I was feeling pretty good right after the procedure. I thought it was going to be good. But then Tuesday morning, I kind of woke up and I was like doubled over sick, right? And the reason for that is because they put bone graft in and I was on amoxicillin, which is an antibiotic, right? Apparently, I'm allergic to amoxicillin. I just found that one out. So that's why I didn't go. I was just like doubled over into sick pain. And then I had to go back in and they say, you're septic. So we have to go and put you on something different because apparently I don't have the gut biome or whatever it is that
so the antibiotic didn't work at
didn't
all?
work. So, and then I made the mistake of asking what bone graft is made of. Do you know what bone graft is made of?
Nope.
No? Do you know what bone graft is made
I
of?
don't.
I assumed bone graft was made of some synthetic, miracle goop. No. He's like, you really want to know? I go, yeah. He goes, cadavers. I'm like, oh. Which, by the way, is why you've got to take amoxicillin. And so apparently I've got dead people in my jaw. I am officially undead or half dead, and I'll remember that on Halloween. So just telling you guys, don't ask about shit you don't want to know. So that's why I was not in Los Angeles. So I was very sick at that time. So yeah, and now Sam Bott is going to give me all of these like all this holistic medicine. I'm going to have all these links in my text right after that. So yeah, that's why I was not there. Yeah, it was. Yeah, if you think it was gross, it was probably 10 times more than you think. So. Yeah, but bone is inert. Is it? I don't know. It's dead people's bones. I'm sharing someone else's bones. It's almost like I had a transplant, right? A bone transplant. Do you have notes? What did you have?
No, that's
you
for us
wanted
to talk about later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let me know how we get to it.
Okay.
But as far as Reignite's concerned, we put the program together. We really launched, I would say, August at Babes in Toyland,
which was fun.
Which was a lot of fun. And I should say that we try our best to. We have events that we do. Babes in Toyland being one that we regularly do. The next one we're going to do is going to be in Miami. It'll be the Miami White Party. Mike and I will be out there. I'm sure you'll be out there too.
Yep.
Jim Kilgore will definitely be out there. And we're going to make the rounds. We'll probably go on Fresh and Fit, probably go on the Danza Project. One podcast we won't be going on is the Adam Sosnick Show, because that's no longer the now defunct Adam Sosnick Show. But probably go on the Danza Project, do Fresh and Fit. But we also do events, and we also do like outings and things too. And
that's part of the whole thing, is to have fun, right? With the dudes.
Yeah. When we first got this together, like you and I go have dinner at GA all the time and talk about stuff like what kind of fun things we want to go do. There's actually a method to that madness. And the reason why I try to get guys to get together to go do some cool shit is because that's where communication happens. Now, I've used this example several times, but the best conversations I've ever had with my brother have been wrenching on a car. My brother does classic car and muscle car restoration mostly. And if you ever go see like the Barrett Jackson auctions on ESPN,
mm-hmm.
he'll do like probably 2 or 3 cars a year and then go auction them at Barrett Jackson. Sometimes you see it on ESPN. But it makes a good chunk of change doing it. But like my brother has always been a gearhead. He loves to work on cars, and I like to break the cars. So,
Nice.
but the best conversations I've ever had with him were just like over, the hood of under the hood of a car, right? Because we both have a collected interest in that one thing. And some of the best friends I have are as a result of a mutual interest and just like hanging out and doing stuff, whether I start a business or not. It could be a hobby. It could be Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, some of my best friends I've made over a game, right? Because we have a mutual interest in strategic war games, right? I like to play golf. I like to go deep sea fishing. I like to go to the gun range. I like to drive my cars really fast on the wherever I can. And I think a lot of guys have those kind of mutual interests too. And so we try to make events that not only are fun, but they're also functional.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we're going to do in Miami is we're going to be doing a deep sea fishing trip. That'll be, and I'll make an announcement for that. I think I'm sure Harold will want to go on that. So we've probably got room for 4 more because they'll only hold 6. But so I'm going to toss that one out there for the Miami trip.
Mm-hmm.
And see how it goes. It's just something I've always loved to do since I was like 14 years old. Just go out on like head boats and just catch fish all day.
Yeah.
And there's other things too. Like I still want to go to the gun range.
Yeah.
I want to go drive
sure.
I want to drive a tank too.
Well,
There's a lot of cool
we should do
things
the
to
air combat thing.
Yeah,
out
the
here.
air combat. Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be cool.
Or I'm still wondering if like the Las Vegas Motor Speedway or the what's the Speed Las Vegas that's in the
Mm-hmm.
south there, if they'll let you just bring your own car out there, you sign a waiver and just go.
I don't know. Actually, over at the Speedway here, they do drag races.
Yeah.
We did that a couple months ago.
That'd be
So you
fun.
can just bring your own car out.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? So you
Mhm.
wow. So
And it's a 1/4 mile run.
is it bracket racing or is it?
You're
Oh,
side
yeah,
by
bracket.
side.
Oh, side by
Yeah.
side. Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow.
Exactly.
Nice.
So the car that won was an old Volkswagen Bug,
Uh-huh.
and so I'm seeing this guy like
Mhm.
it's not turned on. He's like pushing the Bug in.
There's a parachute on the back of the Bug. Yeah.
It's all thrust away, baby. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah. This is the old Bug, like a 73 Bug, not the
Mhm.
yeah. It's pretty good.
So it's just like stuff like that to go have fun and then go out to the clubs too, obviously.
Mhm.
I mean, we're not.
Well,
we're
that's the
not
whole idea
just
about
doing
Babes
one
and
thing.
Toys Land
Uh-huh.
is like we're doing classes
Mhm.
before, and then we go out and interact with girls and we invite them. So we're using Michael's program, right? As far as providing value and inviting girls to go to the party.
Mhm.
And then we go to the party. It's kind of like the culmination of everything. And the guys have tons of girls to talk to there.
Yeah.
So that's why that's fun.
Yeah. I was going to say, we also have exercises and we have practices. We
exactly.
We try to get more practical about things. And we try to keep it not weird on top of all that too. So like the girls that you're interacting with are people that we know and have been, have been part of they're trained to do this, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you have to be zeroed out to join Reignite? No, actually you don't. If you just want to join Reignite because you're looking for a tribe, please. Yeah, that's fine.
For sure.
You don't have I think what's funny is I'm writing the 6th book, which is Reignite, and it's interesting because I've never done this before, but I'm trying to make the book practical. I'm trying to make it like something that's general use, I guess maybe sounds a lot better. Because a lot of people keep saying like, the red pill is long on rhetoric and it's short on solutions. Well, I'm going to, in this book, I'm giving solutions technically. So I'm kind of breaking protocol in this. I usually most of the stuff I write from the position of this is a praxeology and here's this is the data. And if you want to come up with your own, you want to take that data and use it to benefit yourself, then please do, which is what most people do, right? I don't really call myself an influencer. I'm not a guru. I don't even know what to call myself, to be quite honest, but I'm trying to make the red pill useful, I think. And because a lot of people, I think it needs this needs to be done primarily because over the last 4 years, so many people have bastardized what the red pill is and have turned it into sort of this commercial enterprise. And it's this generalistic kind of like sales speak, funnel speak kind of stuff where it's like people who aren't really about it really kind of take what they what little they know of the red pill, and then try to turn it into some sort of program or some sort of I don't know, it's very self-helpy, you know what I mean? Like, and I got nothing against these guys. In their own realm, I guess they're great, but like, you got guys like Grant Cardone, you got Bradley, you got like Ty Lopez, you got, I guess, Gary V, Patrick Bet David, I guess maybe you want to throw in there too, but they're famous for being famous. You know, they're like, it's very, it's positivity kind of stuff. And if you need the pep rally and you need that stuff going, that's great. But then I'll read something like Unscripted by DeMarco. Can't remember the guy's first name. Where I'm reading this book, and it's a very, very thick book. And probably the first third of it is just him trying to get his bona fides, you know? And it's just like, here's my Batman origin story. And if I can do it, you can do it too, kind of thing. And I'm like, I keep reading the book and trying to work my, kind of slog my way through the book to get to the point where, like, how do I do what you do? What's the process? Show me. Process could have been this much in the book, but the book is like this big, right? And I don't want fluff. So I'm thinking this is my part of my writing process. I'm thinking this, and I'm like, I don't want there to be fluff in this. I want to get right to the point. I want to make something useful, and here's the program, and here's how it works. So that's why we did the modules, the video modules, which are part of the school Reignite tribe group community right now. So those are available now if you want to. Lord knows I did them with this guy for all of fall, summer and fall. Every week we were out doing that. So please go watch those and make them useful to yourselves. But that's part of the thing that you get. You get the tribe, you get the group of guys, you get the camaraderie. I've noticed through other people that I've known, like say MLD or Mike's group, MOA. A lot of these guys are looking for tribe. They're looking for a group. Sure. They're looking for a community of guys. In fact, that's one of the number one questions I get is like, where do I live in Paducah, Kentucky, Rolo. Where do I find like-minded red pill individuals? Like, how the fuck do I know? I don't live in Kentucky. But, there's ways where you could, there's ways you can look for guys or start conversations and ask questions and sort of determine whether or not that person is on board with like what you know about the red pill, right? There's ways to do that, but I know that is indicative of a need, and the need is a need for tribe. And I've written several essays about men needing tribe and men needing sort of like rites of passage. And I think one of the things that we don't really realize as guys is that we already have tribes. We just don't recognize them as tribes. So like my band is a tribe. Yep. The guys I work out with at Powerhouse, they're a tribe too. I go in there, they know my name. And if I have questions, if I want to work out with somebody, I can go work out with Alvaro, right? Your church might be a tribe. Your Bible study might be a tribe. Your sewing circle might be a tribe. Whatever your hobbies are.
Yeah, well, we have a couple of guys that ride motorcycles.
Motorcycles.
They hang with the motorcycle
That's
guys.
the motorcycle tribe, right? Yeah. So it kind of comes down to just sort of identifying those tribes. It's one of the things
we have a questionnaire that actually
try to
asks you what do you like? What are your hobbies? What are the things you want to do? Right. And then try and connect you with the people in your own community that are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm a backwoods redneck. How do I find a tribe? buy a new
Sasquatch, right?
Buy a new sled. Buy a new sled, my friend. The answer is always buy a new sled. Yeah, I love it when you walk into like Guitar Center or something like that, and you got these old guys that are there trying to like sort of relive their
Did you see Bill Burr sing?
I saw that. God, I fucking hate him. I hate him even more now. I mean, I love him, but like I hate him for that because he's right. Because he's fucking right. Yes, I know. You walk into Guitar Center, you see these guys, and they're in their like late 40s, mid 50s, and stuff like that. And they're just pointing out Les Pauls and is that a red one? Clearly. I know. So I happen to love walking into I try not to walk into Guitar Center because it's very commercial. There's other really good music stores here in Vegas. But whenever I go in there to pretty much everything you see in this whole studio came from Guitar Center. No, when I walk in there, like I still have long hair, and I go in, I'm still fairly jacked. I wear what I wear, right? And so people look at me a little bit differently when I walk in. But I do see I do see exactly what he was talking about. And I understand it's like, because I have a guitar collection that is like massive. It's like, it's really not to fill an emptiness in my heart. Yeah, it's true. Which issue would you like marriage reform to solve first? The first thing I would talk about is there has to be parity. There has to be some sort of gender parity between the two. There's no incentive for men to get married right now. Like, what's the motivation? I think, and by reform, I'm not saying something that has to be like set in the Constitution, right? We don't have to have some new bill added to whatever. I'm just thinking in a social sense, we need to find some way to sort of reform our ideas of marriage. Certainly, let me point you in the right direction because I'm going to get to this video later on. But Jim Sexton just did about an hour and a half with is it Chris Lentz? He's the guy who was the sort of disgraced pastor from Hillsong United, and it was really good. I forget the name of the show. That it wasn't Soft White Underbelly, it was something else, but it was a really good discussion between the two of them. But Jim Sexton has a lot of good ideas when it comes to sort of marriage reform and things that might help anyways, but a lot of those are social, and you've got to find some way to sort of convince people to get on board with those reforms before anything. And I just think that we're not at the point right now where either of the sexes really want to give an inch, because women have so much control over the marriage as a sort of a system that they're just simply not going to give up that much power. I mean, like I said, Jim has a lot of really great ideas. The sticking point though is getting people to agree on those two. What else here? If you want to get a taste of your Scandinavian tribe, come visit me in Finland. I'll take you on an icy water skinny dip in the winter. Do I get to jump off like with axes into the? I want to do that. Can I get axes and jump in the water? Yeah, that would be fun. I've always wanted to go back to the motherland. I just want to go to Denmark, to be honest with you, but see if it feels familiar. My wife actually hates the snow, man. Like when we were in Tahoe, like she loved it for a while when we were snowmobiling, but also skiing and stuff like that. And for a while there, she really was into it. But boy, I tell you, she just does not dig it like the way I dig it. So I never thought I would like snow because I grew up in Southern California, and then I ended up moving up north. And I had to like it, so I had to find.
But it's
ways
not
to have
snowy all the time in Reno, right?
Well, no, not in Reno, but in Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
Right now, Lake Tahoe's buried, but I mean, there could be winters in Tahoe where like 8 months of the year you've got snow.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not always like that, but the only time it's actually warm in Tahoe is like July and August. But I learned to love it, and I just kind of took to it. I never had to really. I didn't grow up with it, so
yeah.
But I had an affinity for it. Like once I found out things that I like to do in it, like snowmobiling was a natural fit for me because I like power sports. But then my wife actually taught me how to ski, and so I learned how to ski. I did snowboard for a little while, but I just don't like it as much as I like skiing, so I started skiing. But snowshoeing, and then I like fishing and stuff like that. So when I was in Tahoe, it was good times.
Yeah.
And I was only there for like 8 or 9 years. So that's cool. You got something for me? What do you want to talk about?
This is business stuff.
Oh, business stuff
after the show. Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's get your story. Like, what's your backstory here? Now you've been divorced.
Yeah. So my story is that I did go through a bad divorce, and I got a lot of coaching myself around the whole thing. Right. There was a lot of emotion. There was a lot of money spent for no reason.
How long was the marriage?
18 years.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and the divorce took about 4, and I got to see the legal system up close and personal. And the funny thing was, like, people would tell me, like, yeah, you should be doing this. And it's like, no, that's not how it works.
Exactly the opposite.
This is not how this works. So, and going through that process and then coming out of it. And like I said, I was isolating and just kind of moping around, to be honest. And then determined that I'm not doing that anymore. So then I just went through a bunch of coaching and came out the other side. So
Did
to
you
speak.
Did you start taking the coaching while you were like thinking of who initiated the divorce?
She did.
She did.
Yeah.
Did you know it was coming?
Not. Oh, well, so we had an interesting relationship. So, yeah, I don't know that I want to like. give the details
However
of it right
comfortable
now.
you are.
I mean,
with
I'll
it,
definitely talk to people privately about it, but I'm not
Uh-huh.
gonna because I've got kids and things like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm just gonna,
of course.
But yeah, she did, and then I think it was a test, to be honest.
Mhm.
I don't think she really wanted to get divorced. She was just seeing what I would do, and I jumped on it. So,
Pushing the envelope. Yes, of course. Oh,
I'm out,
divorce? Yes.
which is, and so whatever.
Funny
so,
you should ask.
so there was a Joe at that time,
Mhm.
right? And then there's a Joe now,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of growth in between those two times.
Mhm.
So
How long has it been?
since I got divorced,
Yeah.
3 years.
3 years.
Mhm.
Okay. Wow,
Yeah.
I thought it was longer.
Yeah, no, 2021.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, God.
And so, yeah, and then, like I said, did a lot of courses, did a lot of things,
Mhm.
and determined to not just stay at home and isolate and just get out and be more social.
Mhm.
And so part of the work was, hey, I'm going to improve my social skills and also have fun while I'm doing it,
Mhm.
just to lead a better life. And I think that's what the program's all about, is like,
Mhm.
how do we just lead a better life and have more fun and enjoyment and fulfillment from our life instead of like staying with our stories and beating ourselves down.
Mhm. Or giving up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the beating down, right? So it's
Mhm.
like people that give up just have beaten them down so far. And a lot of that is because they do. So I've worked with a lot of guys, and the thing that I keep hearing over and over again is, hey, I didn't know anybody was like me.
Mhm.
So until they get out into a group, until they see other men open up about their story, they think they're alone in this world and there's no one else that can relate to them.
Mhm.
But there are people that can relate to them,
Mhm.
right? That have gone through stuff, and whoever the guys in our group are also have gone through the stuff. And so, like I said, when we bring things up and we talk about all these generalities and commonalities, then we understand that we're not alone.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's key, especially with the lack of like networking that guys have. That's one of the things that really gets me these days. Is I keep reading these articles, or people bring up these old articles about like, oh, men have never been more lonely than they are right now. And what was it? The stats are saying like 15 or 18% of guys say they have no personal close friends to turn. Like, yeah, that still means it's like 85% of guys actually do. Like, can we like look at the opposite side? But I think that a lot of the sort of solutions that are offered are just sort of like dismissals these days. When a guy gets divorced, it's been my experience anyways, that the guys, when they come to me to sort of like help them sort of settle themselves out, or like, for instance, Harold's first question to me when he was going through his divorce is, am I good looking to go get laid again? That was the first thing. You remember that when we were talking about this, and it was really sort of like more of a psychological thing for him. And the guy's in good shape, right? I mean, he's in really great shape. But that wasn't his problem, and his problem wasn't his height, because he's like 6'2", something like that. It was his game. It was his self-confidence was just crushed out of him. I mean, that and his duck walk, but other than that, which I keep telling you, come on, do it. And then what's funny to me is, for a guy that was as sort of built as he was and as tall as he is, that his biggest problem wasn't his physique. It wasn't like his height. It was like all this stuff that everybody claims is like so bloody and like height maxers or chin maxers or freaking, looks maxers stuff. Like, he's not a bad looking. I mean, he should probably dye his hair, but other than that,
I'm calling him the silver fox.
Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah. But then you look at like a guy like Jim Kilgore, right? Jim Kilgore, like, as soon as he was done with his marriage, he was fucking done. He's like, I know exactly what I'm doing, right? And has just like launched into it.
Yeah. But they have two different histories too.
Yeah, they have different,
right?
Yeah,
completely different histories.
Right. And Jim Kilgore's problem wasn't his confidence. It wasn't his game. He already had that, right? It was just sort of like getting out of an old bad situation, changing his mind about himself, which he did, and then jumping back on the horse.
Well, it's understanding the intersexual dynamics, right?
Right.
And giving up his power to his wife.
Yeah. Yep.
and regaining the power, right? And I'm going to be the leader in the situation. I'm going to be the leader in my relationship. And I will,
And that has a fall-on effect that your ex-wife now wants to fuck you again,
Right,
because
exactly.
like you became somebody she wants to fuck, right? But I mean, that wasn't Harold's case, but Harold's case it wasn't so much his height or his looks or anything like that. I mean, his stylistically, he needed some help. That's not too tough. But I think his main problem was his self-confidence, and he just had been browbeaten and so like henpecked and just so like berated for so long that it like over the years that became part of his personality. And that's the first thing we're trying to like help him with is like, speak up. Like he's so soft spoken until he gets angry, and then he like raises his voice and he kind of loses his shit. Right. But he was so soft spoken for a while, and as a direct result of like years of being with his now ex-wife. Right. And so bringing him out of that, like the only way you're going to be able to do that is to get with guys who are going to tell you the truth about yourself, right? Who are going to do it without any varnish on it and sugarcoating anything, which is what we told him from the beginning. Is, some of the stuff we say might piss you off, but we're not doing it from a place of like malevolence or anything like that. Yeah. We're doing this to help you and to kick you in the ass. It's like being a drill sergeant kind of thing. We want to see the best out of you. So I think of it. You ever see the movie Whiplash?
Yes.
You wish with Mr. Fitch,
Yeah.
not my tempo, like that. That's me. That's me with Harold. Not my tempo. Are you ahead of the beat or are you behind the beat? That whole thing. Because he's not doing it like Mr. in the movie. Anyways, he's not doing what the guy wants to be a drone. He wants to be a fucking Buddy Rich, right? He's not doing it because he's doing it because he sees the potential in the kid, right? He sees the potential in the musician, right? You can be great. You can be as good as Buddy Rich, but I'm going to kick you in your ass and tell you when you suck and when you don't suck, and you need it this way, because if I'm not giving it to you in this way, you're never going to develop into the musician that you have the potential to be, right? Same thing with Harold. Same thing with the guys in the program. We're not doing it to mollycoddle you. We're there to help you out. And sometimes that means your style sucks. We need to take you to the haberdashery or whatever it is, or you're fat. And the first thing you need to do, there's the treadmill, run till you're thin. Right. And we're here to help you, you get on TRT, right? Go do whatever. Go work out. Here's a plan. Here's a diet for you. Or then we've got guys who are like really super outgoing, and that's a problem for them because they can't shut up. Right. And so it's not so much a lack of confidence. It's almost sort of like contrived overconfidence. And so people will tell you that too. Sometimes that's a little difficult to hear, especially when you've got a really high opinion of yourself.
Right.
So, but that's, again, we're here to help. And that's, I think, what sets us apart from so many other programs right now. And then just coming from a position of like sincerity, coming from authenticity, right? Rather than like, okay, how can we make more money off of this shit, right? I want guys to be in the program, get what they need, and move on, and tell everybody about it. Send us more people, right? But I don't want a perpetual like therapy session with them. I want guys to get what they need, improve themselves, kick ass, and go, you know what, guys, I got it from here, but I'm going to tell everybody about your program. Awesome. That's the best way to advertise in my book, anyways. People think you really don't know how to do marketing rollout. No, I'm anti-marketing. That's my marketing is anti-marketing. But yeah.
That's so funny because you're like, that shit doesn't sound like me.
Yeah.
Don't put that out. You're not putting that out. That doesn't sound like me.
Yeah. When we first started working with the guys who were doing like the pitches for the emailers and stuff like that, or the video introductions and stuff like that. I'm having to read. I never in my life have read from a teleprompter before. And I'm reading this. I'm like, who's writing this shit? This doesn't sound like me. So I want it to sound like people listen to me every Sunday, right? And they have been for quite some time. They've read my books. They know what my writer's voice sounds like. I'm not I'm not like a guy who doesn't have a book. I'm not like a guy who doesn't have, a history in all of this. I do. And so it's like, if I can't be somewhat genuine about it, then it's like, I'm going to step in and rewrite it. So,
well, but there's the line, right?
Well, you still have to,
what's going to get eyeballs, what's going to get attention versus your voice.
Well, I'm not
going
to, again, I'm not going to try to thwart my own efforts, of course, but like, because I want people to have a good positive experience about it too. And it's like, I think we can help people. And if we can do that,
for sure.
If I can still be honest and I can still be authentic about it, then that's what I'm going to do. So, but I think we're doing pretty good so far.
Well, it's been great. I mean, all the guys are so good.
Yeah.
They're great dudes.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you enjoy talking to
them? Oh
yeah.
I look forward to it we do people don't know this. We do a weekly Zoom call and it's just a sort of a check-in kind of thing, but it's great. I kind of almost want to change the date or the days to, if I could, I would love to change it to like Friday because I know they're just about to go out. They're about to go do something.
So the problem with that is we got to do it earlier because Harold's like, it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock and I'm heading out.
Yeah, we're on the West Coast. So it's a little bit tough. Yeah, I would really love to be able to like give guys like like pep talk or something. Let's go. Here's what we're gonna here's the plan. Like fucking John Madden. Okay, then you're gonna go. I had Mike say this, and I thought this was pretty good. Like, if you want a distinction between like MOA and Reignite, Mike put it this way: it's like if you think of us as a football team, I'm the defensive coordinator, and he's the offensive coordinator. And both of those coaches need to know something about offense and defense, even though what they're primarily focusing on are two different things. But well, I thought that was a really good. God damn! I thought that was a really good.
MOA
analogy.
is awesome. Yeah,
MOA is awesome, but MOA is definitely more offense, right? My stuff is more defense, right? So,
well, I think they.
But you still have to know a little bit about both.
I think they cross because the idea is, he has social circle, right? And the idea we do social improvement for the guys, so. We're working on finding the things that you like and being part of that community within your own hometown.
Right.
And then the idea is then you become leaders within that also. And then the women will come around that. And I think, and his is like, I'm doing this to meet men of higher status and to meet women. Yeah. And then working together, how we do that is what's great.
Yeah. The one thing that that concerns me a lot of the time. I was just asked a minute ago about like, do you have anything against guys who are Aspies or Spurgs or whatever like that? I don't, obviously. It's next to impossible to not have to deal with that element within the Manosphere because the Manosphere in this space tends to draw guys like that because they're trying to solve a problem. They're trying to solve like, I'm lonely. How do I go from single and sexless to getting a girlfriend or whatever it is? And again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I don't have a doctorate in anything. I have a degree. I've got a bachelor's degree in behavioral psychology and in fine art. Right, those are my two. So I'm not the guy that you want to come to see for like real clinical help when it comes to stuff like that. But and that's just my caveat right there, my preliminary. But does Reignite have a payment program? Yeah, we do.
We do.
Explain it real quick because I got one.
Yeah, so it depends on how we have a 3-month, 6-month, and 12-month program. And then, for example, if you sign up for a 3-month program, it's an initial down payment and then 2 other payments with it.
Yeah, so
6 month, 12 months, basically the same thing.
There you go, Fit Red Pill. So, question answered immediately. How do you like that? No, I was just going to say is like there's always going to be that sort of, if you're on the spectrum, that's always going to be an element. I talked about this with Mike. Like Mike actively looks for guys who are like cluster B personalities and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I understand why. But I want to point out that like if you're looking at this program as some sort of therapy or some sort of like clinical therapy, don't look at it as that. If you want camaraderie, if you want a tribe, if you have specific questions, if you have specific issues, problems that you need addressed, or if you need somebody to just basically give it to you in no uncertain terms, like get in the gym, learn game. And again, it's not even so much just learn game. Like one of the reasons we call it like health, wealth, and relationships is the relationship side of it. Yes, is does that include like interacting with women? Absolutely, it does. But it also involves interacting with guys too, because a lot of guys simply can't determine whether a guy is fucking with them or is just kind of joking around with them, right? And I think that's one of, like, I was just asked about sort of millennials and boomers and Gen Xers and Zoomers and stuff like that. I think a lot of the Generation Z especially don't know how to interact with men. Like they can't distinguish the difference between bullying and a guy just like ribbing you and fucking with you, you know, like, hey, I'm not trying to start a fight with you. I'm just like messing with you. I'm joking with you at your expense. And now I want you to give me, like, give it to me as well as I gave it to you, kind of thing. And like, we come from a generation where that was just sort of a given. Like when I met Mike, I knew I could fuck with him immediately, like he's throwing footballs down the hall of Sticky Paws, and I knew immediately like I could work with him and I could hang with him. Right. Yeah. Same thing with Justin Waller. Same thing with Fresh. Same thing with most of these guys. I think
a lot of guys don't trust guys.
Yeah, they think they're either being bullied or they're being hazed or.
Yeah. Well, and so I don't know. This is completely anecdotal. So I was part of another coaching group, and there's a lot of guys that have been molested that you would be surprised about the amount. Because we had guys. We probably had 24 guys in a weekend session. Probably every one of those things, there was probably 2 to 4 guys that had been molested every time that came through. So there's an element of that's going on that I don't think anybody talks about. And then the other thing is like when you're talking about women raising men and women being in the schools, I think they're getting some distrust of other men from that environment too. Yeah. Completely anecdotal.
Learning,
I have
conditioning.
I don't have any specific scientific data around that, but that's some of my observations.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think what was, when I started doing TRT, like when Mike's like convinced me to start doing TRT, I didn't know, like I knew like Rich Cooper had done it and some other people I knew. But I'll tell you this is like, I remember when it was about week 10 when I was in, I was like, okay, I get it. I understand, and I made this statement on Access Vegas at one point. I said, you know what? I think a lot of the guys who have problems with sort of their attitudes, or their black pill doomers, or their MGTOW guys, or they're somebody who's on the spectrum or something. I'm like, man, go get your levels checked. Go get your T levels checked, because I will tell you this. I think this is just me spitballing here. I think that the difference between a guy being a black pill doomer or a MGTOW guy is probably about, about 100 milligrams of testosterone. Like it would change your outlook. Maybe you would want to go out and remember how what Mike says, TRT makes effort feel good, right? Well, I mean, that kind of dovetails into what we talk about, getting off your ass and going out and doing something, right? I mean, get your T levels checked, especially guys who are like 45, 65 years old. Everybody already knows this. I'm fairly good friends with Robert Kiyosaki, right? And Robert Kiyosaki just sent me, I should dig it up. He just sent me this picture of him with Donald Trump Jr. And because he's been friends with the family for forever. Right. And mentioned my name in the thing, because of course it's probably because he's talking about Kim, like his now ex. But I remember when I was working with Robert, this is Robert fucking Kiyosaki, and I'm not going to sell him out or anything. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but Robert fucking Kiyosaki, who is worth quite a bit of money, in his private life, he was he has said this on my show. He was a blue pill beta. I was a fat blue pill beta, I never cheated, but I should have. I was like, God damn. But he really took my work to heart, and I'm glad he did. But there was a point where I was working with him. I told him, you can go out and date anytime you want, man.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't want to go out. He did, like, to kick him in the ass to motivate him to go, like, okay, he's He was 74 when I started working with him. So everyone is younger than him. But these girls are younger than yeah, of course they are. And that's a good thing, right? I said, you just have to be careful. My biggest concern with him was getting rolled.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to like fall in love with the first chick that like showed him her tits, right? But which wasn't a problem for Robert. But there was a point where I had to sort of convince him, like, you got to get up and get out and go do it, right?
Yeah.
And he had a personal trainer at that time. He had a chiropractor who was working with him, and I don't know if he ever got on TRT, but if he didn't, he probably is. He's one of the people that I would suggest definitely do. But there was a point, and I'm talking to a guy who's worth what, $500 million, half $1 billion, and I'm talking to him. And I'm saying, you realize you're Robert fucking Kiyosaki, right? People know you don't fly commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, he had to have that, spelled out for him in no uncertain terms. And I remember like after that going, my God, it's like you could be so in control of your world and still fall into the same mentality that the guys that we talk to, like that's a common problem, right? Robert Kiyosaki had it. You have it. Right.
Well, it goes back to you holding the frame, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
As a man, you have to know what's right for you, and you have to know what's right for your relationship and the world you're operating in.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when you have that, then the woman falls into the frame. She's going to continue to test you here and there. But as long as you're strong in that, then
that's another thing.
Also,
I should probably point this out too. Like if you are like in a situation right now, you don't like I said, the guy asked me, he said, do you have to be zeroed out to be part of the group? And the answer is no, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You just, if you want to rebuild your life in various ways. I mean, I think one of the reasons why I like this program above all others is, well, it's mine, but I also like the fact that it's much more holistic, right? So it's, I've said in the past that money, muscles, and game, or health, wealth, and relationship, are synergistic. So you improve in one area, it brings up the level in the other area too. So if you're a fat fuck and you get into the gym and you start looking better, people start treating you different. How does that affect
you
your
feel
game?
better too?
Yeah, you feel better.
Yeah.
Your confidence is up. That might help you with your game.
Mm-hmm.
Might help you with your social skills because people are going to treat you differently because you look differently. And then from that point on, how's that going to affect your money because people are treating you differently? So they all kind of like work synergistically. And if anything, like the new book, the Reignite book, is really based on the holistic principle of like all of those three elements, which, by the way, are like, if you look at money, muscles, and game, those are the top things that guys look for whenever you can fit whatever their problem is into one of those categories. So, when you take them in total rather than individually, I think guys end up benefiting a whole lot better as a result of that, because now you're and having somebody who knows that they do work synergistically is tough, because a lot of people will say, I don't want to pick on Rich Cooper, but it's always, don't chase money, or don't chase women, chase excellence. Like, what does that mean? Chase money, chase physique. Well, what does that end up being, right? And I've always been of the opinion that it's like if you're going to chase, like, focus on all of it. It's a holistic approach. So,
right.
What is it?
Right.
Focus on yourself. Well, wait, hold on. Here we go. Have you ever done a pod class on the subject of Asperger's? No, I have done it on autism before. I think it would be interesting, especially if you the pre-show research like you do. Yeah, I have done. I've done stuff on autism, but only sort of in passing. I've never done one specifically on Asperger's syndrome because that's like kind of out of my wheelhouse. But I would, if I did it, you're correct. I would have to do a lot of homework to do that. Again, to even just speak knowledgeably about it. I have put out. I don't see how I do this, but okay. I have talked about autism, but only in this respect that of the increase in the diagnosis of autism since like the late 90s up to where we are right now. And it has increased like 317% in that time. And I don't think that's something that we can ignore, particularly since a lot of those guys make their way into the manosphere. So that's something that needs to be addressed. As I said, I'm not a clinical psychologist, so I don't feel like I'm like knowledgeable enough to really speak knowledgeably on it. But I will give you the stats, and I do recognize the need to actually acknowledge that fact, which, by the way, I don't think anybody else has up to this point. So, yeah. One of the things I was going to talk about on today's show was I'm at a okay, so I'm writing the book right now. I'm at the section of the book where I talk about the burden of performance. And I think a lot of guys who come to us don't realize that they sort of gave up on their burden of performance, or they didn't even realize they had one, right? I wrote about the burden of performance in the first book. Actually, I wrote about it before that in my blog. But to my knowledge, I'm the one who coined the term burden of performance. I remember when I put it out there and I put the essay out there, and people go, "I don't think we should call it a burden of performance. I think we should call it the challenge of performance," or whatever. I'm like, well, the reason I call it the burden of performance is because it's something that men have that women do not have, right? Women just are, and men must become. And when you cease to become, that's when women start losing attraction for you, because you're not becoming more than what they thought you were going to be in the first place, right? What do they say? You know, men marry women for what they are in the now, and women marry men for what they will become, right? Well, if after you get married and you sort of give up on yourself or whatever else, you've ceased to become, and maybe you just put it on cruise control and sort of like, you know, go along to get along, right? Like set it and forget it. But I'm doing my damnedest right now to explain the actual underlying sort of theory, I guess, behind the burden of performance for men, because men tend to be hierarchical. That's how we really kind of, as a result of our nature and our evolution, when we evolved from hunter-gatherer tribes, you know, we're always based on merit. Who got the most meat, who got the kill, who brought home the caribou, that kind of stuff. Like the tribes members who would bring home the most meat were the ones who were held in more esteem, and usually that was because they had higher physical prowess, or they were smarter, or clever, or else they were faster, or they were stronger than the rest, and therefore they inched up in the sort of dominance hierarchy that is sort of the male form of organizing society. Right? And so when I'm bringing up the burden of performance, it really is something that comes back to our sort of evolutionary roots. And now that we no longer live in hunter-gatherer tribes per se, how is that manifested in our sort of modern society today? And that goes back to it's not genetic gap, it's the evolutionary gap, which is we have holdovers, at least in our psyches and our sort of like our own evolution, that we have brought into modern times, into the high technology days that we're in right now, right? And you can take that and sort of extrapolate that into, you know, a bigger paycheck, or, you know, get in the gym and get on Masterone, get on TRT, get on whatever it is, right? Anadrol. And then, so really what the burden of performance can be distilled down to is really money, muscles, and game, right? It's who has social mastery, who has higher status, or who can fake the cues of higher status now, anyways. Money being resources, physique, you know, the physical side of it, and the muscle side of it is pretty self-explanatory as well. So that's a good question. Let me put this one up here. Is there a greater burden of performance today than yesteryear? I think it depends on the society that you happen to be in. Definitely things have changed since then. If you have, I don't necessarily think is it a greater burden? I think it's still there. It depends on kind of, I hate to, because this sounds like a cop-out, but I think it's contextual. Because if you've got a woman who is really sort of full of herself and she has high expectations of a guy, then you could say yes, obviously. But that same woman 10 years later, and maybe she's willing to sort of compromise on, that performance a little bit more, where she's reprioritized her prerequisites for that guy, that could change. So again, it's I think it kind of depends on the context.
Well, she has to trust that he can lead.
Right.
Right.
Well,
and when she loses that respect and trust for him, then it's out the window for the relationship.
Yeah. Well, that's because in the I love the leadership thing, because when it gets like the word, like men have to be dominant. Men have to be they have to be leaders in their own house, right? So that even if they're not leaders at anywhere else, they got to lead in the house. I think that's it comes down to sort of this. Remember I said about like Harold, for example, like he's got very soft spoken, and there's like in Harold I see like this potential that he could be way more dominant than he actually is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But because he's been conditioned to speak softly and to just sort of like not, just be a little church mouse or wallflower or whatever, that he'll never, well, I mean, if he hadn't joined us, right, he would never get to that point where that potential is there.
Harold's got a rage that he's not letting come out.
Right.
Because he's afraid of it. And that's what's holding him back. Until he gets with his rage.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harold, we love you. We love you.
We do.
You got to get with your rage, brother. Okay, and let that shit out.
You're like the Hulk. You're just waiting to pop, man. Exactly. I know, hulking up, man. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Well, that's another good one. It can't be vulnerable. The vulnerability aspect is another part of this too, which we'll get into here. But I wanted to point out that when we're talking about like the burden of performance is integral. Remember, I talked about the holistic thing is integral to how men organize societies in hierarchies. So when we're talking about, if we were to say like, oh, you need to be a leader in your home. Well, a leader implies that there are followers. That if you're going to say a man needs to be a leader, you're implying that guy needs to be at the top of some hierarchy. So is that guy the leader at his job? No. Is that guy the leader at his, bowling league? No. Is he the leader in his house? Well, why would he be the leader in his house if everywhere else he's still a follower, right? And so those outside experiences then teach him that he just should go along to get along. Or you are raised in a society, which is a gynocentric social order, that teaches you that respect is something everybody deserves, right? Respect is just, common courtesy. You get some respect and you get some respect. And one of the things I was writing about in the book right now is I started the section on the burden of performance with the differences in definition of respect, because men and women have different definitions of respect. In fact, if you go and you look in the dictionary, there are actually two different definitions of respect in the dictionary. One of those is what I call the male form, which is it's merited. What do you do that makes you respectable? Do you do something better? Are you better at something that nobody else is as good at, right? Did you kill the caribou, right? Did you bring the caribou home? Like, did you have the most meat kind of thing? Well, that puts you on a respect hierarchy. Well, he can always do that. He's so good at that shit, right? He has a natural talent for it. Or maybe it's a learned talent. Regardless, people respect you because of the things that you can do. What is your performance, right? And so the idea of what makes you respectable is a merit-based definition of what respect is. Like when I hear a woman say, well, everybody deserves respect. No, they fucking don't. What do you do? Why should I respect you? What do you do that makes you respectable in anyone's eyes, let alone mine, right? And I can say that now, but for the longest time, it's been about common courtesy, right? That's the second definition of respect, which is everybody deserves respect. Everybody deserves a common respect or something like that. And when you do that, and when you have that as your definition, the other definition loses validity in that sense. So if respect is common, then it is less valuable than a respect that is based on merit. And so that's why I look at those two as like there's the merit-based respect, which is the masculine, and then there's the feminine-based respect, which is like egalitarian. Like everybody gets a little bit of respect until you lose it for whatever reason, right? And I think for the longest time we have adopted this more emotionalist definition of what respect ought to be. Like everybody, you know, we're all going to treat
Don't
each
you feel
other
like
the
don't you
same.
feel like a woman is more pragmatic around respect in the man that she's with from the survival standpoint?
I think from a survival standpoint, if a woman is with a guy, like women want to be with men, like we were to say you need to be a leader, right? In the house. Okay. Well, what do you do that makes you respectable? What do you do that puts you in a position of leadership? And I think like we used to answer that with religion, right? You just in the Bible, it says that I'm supposed to be, or the Quran or whatever it is, it says that I'm the man of the house and I'm the one you're supposed to follow. It's the man is the leader and the woman is the follower, right? And so we can rely on that religion. But the thing is we've lived in a gynocentric social order that has been so dependent on egalitarianism and emotionalism for so long that guys have sort of lost track of that right now. I mean, even guys who are like traditional conservatives who still want to play even Steven with their wives, right? They still, it's a 50, like you'll hear women say, well, it's 50-50. Like we both make decisions together. It's a co-equal, co-partnership of some, they don't even call it a marriage. It's a partnership, right? And so even when the language changes, it's this push for egalitarianism versus merit-based hierarchical ways of organizing things.
But from my experience, women don't buy into that for the guy they're with.
Oh yeah, well they want, well yeah, what women say they want in a guy and what they actually get involved
right,
with.
well, but if you're talking, then this is a question too, right? It's like if the guy that she's with, she wants him to be that merit-based guy,
right?
So that she will stand by. So that's what I mean. It seems like she's more pragmatic in the guy she's with, and then she can be egalitarian with her
with
respect
anybody else,
yes,
or work
exactly.
friends. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think what's funny is like, so you've got two different dynamics playing there. You've got the woman who in the outside of the house, the woman is saying everybody deserves respect, right? Inside the house, you need to step up and man up and be the man of the house, right? So there's that confusion. Now, the other thing is this is when guys are outside of the house, it's merit-based. But when they're talking to women, it's supposed to be, hey, you're supposed to respect me just because I'm a woman, right? Just because I have the vagina, has this ever been said to you? You don't respect women. Like, people tell me this shit all the time, man. Like even today, you don't respect women. Like, yeah, because my respect definition is based on hierarchy, right? But when a woman says you don't respect women, the presumption is you should, because everybody deserves common respect, right? And so when that guy comes back to the house and he's been hearing, you know, women deserve this default respect, but the woman is back in the house and saying, no, I need you to be respectable. She's the one that's trying to convince him of the hierarchy-based one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And he's still stuck in this, well, I thought that my mom taught me that, you know, that women just deserve respect for being women, right? And so we should play even Steven. We should be a 50-50 partnership. We be this co-equal, co-rational, way of putting things together. And the woman naturally has an affinity for a dominant guy who she wants to step up and wants to take charge, because she doesn't, like, women would much rather have a man be responsible for their long-term security than themselves, right? Because the women are the vulnerable sex. They want a guy who can provide, protect, and provision for her. And she still wants to fuck him too, because it used to be that those three aspects that we call the beta bucks aspects would directly relate to the alpha aspects. Because if you could provide, you protect, and you could be parentally invested, that meant that you were good looking enough for her to want to fuck you in the first place. And why are you good looking enough? Because you can go out and get the caribou. You have the physical prowess to go and do that. Only the guys with physical prowess could provide, protect, and have a parental investment, or at least be parentally invested enough to want to be with that, to invest in their own children, right? So that was, again, part of the sort of the arousal versus the attraction kind of set that I talk about quite a bit. But the burden of performance, that woman has the burden of performance for that guy. The guy outside has learned that he's supposed to have this egalitarian way of thinking about things, to say, well, wait a minute, you're telling me that I'm supposed to man up and be like, you didn't see the video, but the chick who it was a joke. It was a skit kind of thing. I'll play it again. It's the girl is running away from the groom. The bride is running away from the groom, saying she doesn't want to marry him because he's too perfect, because he has, he does everything he's supposed. Let me go dig that up. This is too good not to. Yeah, you didn't see this because I played this before you got in here. Let me see if where did I put that? Oh, I can't marry you. Okay, here, watch this. Put it on.
Marry you! You're too good for me!
Let me pause it right
Yeah,
quick.
pause it and, so he can hear it.
All right, should be
Go ahead.
playing.
Can't marry you! You're too good for me! You are too nice to me! I'll be less nice! Your gifts are too specific! I'll give you a gift card! I'm sorry! You're too emotionally supportive! It's the money! You make too much money! I'll quit my job! I'll do improv! No! I can't do it. I can't. My mom likes you too much. No, you're too in love with me. So are you. What? You're too committed. Fine. Well, we can be poly. What? I mean, you could be poly. Fine. God damn it. Are you not running after me?
So I think that's kind of ironically funny considering what we've been talking about. Because it's like all the things, like he's too perfect, right? He does everything that he's supposed to do, but like it's still buying into this. Like that's still not what she wants. She still wants the roller coaster. She still wants the bad boy. She still wants, and people keep asking. I keep seeing this over and over in like I'll get this from like Alex from Date Psych or from like Mac and particularly from Mac and Murphy or Rob Henderson. What's funny about Rob Henderson? He's put out so much material about the dark triad personality traits, and now he's like really kind of backpedaling now that he's got his doctorate and he's like this sort of like celebrity doctor now. But I think one of the reasons why the dark triad personality traits are so attractive is because they directly map onto survival traits or masculine dominance. Like you would have to be a badass to actually legitimately have these traits, right? And I'm not talking about like people faking those traits. I'm talking about like what was it? When we talk about hybristophilia is, hybristophilia? Hybristophilia is a dynamic or a psychological dynamic that really only women have. And it's this tendency to get involved and want to have sex with thugs and killers and like prison inmates and criminals. And like, for instance, what's his name? Luigi Mangione right now. Yeah. Like he has this massive like female like fan club and who basically like will tweet, say, I would fuck him in a second. I would want to, and then everybody would say, well, it's just because he's a good looking guy. And there's a lot of really good looking guys who are like pro-social and haven't killed anybody, but they don't have teenage fan clubs like Luigi Mangione does. Right. So that's the in a nutshell. I could talk about it for ages, but hybristophilia is the tendency for women to want to get with guys with dark triad personality traits and who happen to be convicted criminals, rapists, killers, whatever else, warlords, Lord of War, weapon arms dealers, drug dealers, right? But why is that? You don't hear nobody even brings this up. As far as I know, I don't think I've ever seen anybody do a show on hybristophilia who is from sort of the Evo Psych community. But like, why would that be a thing? And I think the answer is that a lot of those traits map onto survival traits. They map onto provisioning, protection, and parental investment, right? Maybe not parental, certainly provisioning and protection, right? It's okay if he's a killer as long as he kills everybody but me and my family and my offspring, right?
And I can tame him.
Yeah, it's Beauty and the Beast. It's Tarzan. Yeah. Is what it comes down to. And again, his burden of performance, he excels at his burden of performance to the point where he kills motherfuckers. But that was really, I mean, if you think about it in our ancestral past, the ultimate the ultimate expression of or the ultimate demonstration of higher value. Remember DHS? Demonstration or DHV, demonstration of higher value back in our hunter-gatherer days was to kill another dude, right? You could take his life and take him out of the game. And so in a sense, like I remember when what was well, there's UFC fighting right now, MMA fighting. I remember when it was. So I was working at the Silver Legacy. I worked at the Silver Legacy Casino in Reno, and it wasn't called UFC. It was called King of the Cage back then, and like religious groups hated it. I couldn't believe it's a blood sport. They're in the octagon and they have like, they got they had the gloves on, but it wasn't like bare knuckle kind of stuff. And it was called King of the Cage. And the only place you could see MMA fighting was in Nevada, because that was the only state where it was legal. And this was back in 95, 97, somewhere around there. And I remember because I used to have to do the promos for King of the Cage.
Did you?
Yeah. And there people would be outside protesting it. And like the stuff that we call, like you just saw with Dana White out here, we're talking to the Tate brothers, right, at the UFC. People would be outside protesting King of the Cage because they thought it was too violent. It was a blood sport, right? And now we just take it for granted that it's just UFC, right? And I remember going down there and watching the fights and everything, because I could go for free, right? It was next to nothing for a ticket then. And then I worked at the place where it was going on. And so you had all these protesters outside, and then you go inside and you would see these chicks who would otherwise say, "Oh, I abhor violence," right? You could see like they just were hanging all over the fighters, and they really wanted to bang the fighters, right? And I thought about that for a minute, and I go, that's because women love violence. They like a guy with a capacity for violence. And so when you're talking about hybristophilia, or you're talking about dark triad personality traits, or all these things that women would otherwise say that they would hate, they love them by order of degree. And and they probably would question themselves as to why they actually feel that way. Why do I get tingles in my vagina from this guy? Because he has a capacity for violence. And again, that's relating that back to the burden of performance. That's a survival trait. And so that's why I think that when we start talking about dark triad personality traits, we shouldn't. This is just me, and this is going to be really controversial, but I don't think we should call them dark. I mean, they are what they are: Machiavellianism, sociopathy, and narcissism. Right? Every one of those traits you can find by order of degree in any guy. Like even the guy who's like the sort of the very quiet, soft-spoken guy, you put him in the right position, you put him in the right context, the right situation, that's going to come out of him. Like we were just talking about Harold a minute ago, or where he's going to Hulk up or something like that. And that's because he's not been in that position. Like I haven't seen it, and I would never dream that he has capacity for something. Probably does, right? Yeah. And I think that guys by order of degree everyone has those personality traits. It's just that they're not either expressed, or they're just not so significant that they're like something that's like their predominant character.
Yeah. Well, and then just society itself says no.
Yeah.
Right?
No. There's I was going to say there's social buffers for that as well.
Because there's a guy that I worked with who he was a thick guy, and he got in a bar fight. He used to drink and everything, and he like almost killed somebody. And then after that, he just shut that all down.
Yeah,
like completely shut it down.
Experience, because he knows what he's capable.
Yeah, exactly. And so he hasn't gotten with that in a healthy way, and that's kind of hurt him with the women too, right? Because he doesn't even want to go there, and so he's not able to express that side of him in a healthy way for a woman to really open up to him the way he would want her to open up to him. But then on the flip side, it's like, you being in a band, right? So a woman seeing a guy up on the stage who is competent.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And other people are watching him. So from that vantage point too, it's like, it doesn't just have to be dark triad. It could be just something like that, right? And being in a band, that you have plenty of girls that want to,
even to this day,
want to be with you just because you're up on the stage, and you're special, and you can
all
lead.
These strippers from Centerfold Police Wednesday, 8 p.m. Yes.
Doe just fired 3 of them.
Did you see that? Oh my God, that was so. I love Little Darlings, man. Little Darlings up north, man. Little Darlings is a strip club here in Vegas, and they have the funniest fucking like marquees, man. Doge made us fire the ugliest one, the three ugliest.
Exactly.
Oh God, somebody has a great sense of humor out there. No, but yeah, I mean, there's the performance side of things
Yes,
too, and then
exactly.
that's also status. So
Mhm.
that's that kind of like when in fact, the very first question I had here today was talking about social circle game versus like direct approach and stuff like that. And why is social I'll give you my interpretation of this. Is one of the reasons why I think Mike sticks to social circle is not because cold approach can't work. It can, but social circle is much easier if you think about it, because you're already working within a predefined social system instead of like something that's completely, like brand new. It's like virgin territory. You're just going in and diving in and going after, right? Sometimes I'm not saying it can't be successful. It can.
Well, then you can lead, right?
Yeah.
You can be shown as a leader within that community,
within that social thing. So,
Yep.
but Mike's done these videos. I wish I had him here now. He's done these videos of how status is perceived. So all status is real and all status is fake, right? It just depends on how it's perceived and what the context of it is, right? So, and then of course, leveraging that to your advantage is Instagram, right? You could be whoever you want to on it. Everybody's,
exactly.
I mean, I use the example of me like on the back of Fresh's car and taking the picture, like he was taking a picture of me for one of these thumbnails. And people instantly presumed I was flexing on everyone else. So I'm going to make you feel bad by showing you me at the back of my Audi or something. Like, I don't have an Audi. You guys know I don't have an Audi. But like people think, oh, he's showing off his wealth from all the money he took from all these poor guys by selling them books. It's like, and I literally can't post a picture without everybody thinking it's a flex. And I thought about that and I go, why is that? Because Instagram is one of those social systems, like you were talking about before. And so me anyways, I can't get away from it, but it's never been easier to sort of fake the cues of high social status now. And even that comes back to what Rob Henderson was talking about, like, what was it? Luxury beliefs, right? One of those luxury beliefs is that I actually own a fucking Audi, which I don't. But the presumption is that I would, just by putting it on there. And so really what it was me. Everybody said it was a flex because they presumed that I was showing off my wealth or I was showing off something. I have a Camaro. Thank you very much. But the presumption was that it was a flex because, again, I think a lot of people are hyper aware of the fact that Instagram, especially Instagram, is a format or a platform onto which you go and that's what you're supposed to do, right? Because it's broadcasting social cues. And they thought I was broadcasting a social cue. I was not. But again, that's the presumption of it. So if I go and I post a picture of me, and I will on Thursday after the gig, right? Yep. And me on stage or something like that, people are going to presume I'm flexing, and I will be this time. But at least you'll be going in with the correct presumption, right? Because that's the default presumption in that social system.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah. But it's never been easier, and this is what Mike was always saying, is that it's never been easier to sort of fake the cues of of high social status right now, which is why one of the first things that Mike does, and really us too, is help you curate your Instagram so that you get maximum utility out of it. So if you are in the Reignite program, or if you're in the MOA program as well, we're going to help you learn how to use Face App and Body App and how to strategically curate an Instagram profile or an Instagram pictures and everything else. And there's I hate to say that there's like a science to it, but there is kind of a science to it.
Yeah.
But go look at Jim Kilgore's Instagram, and you'll know exactly what the format and the template is. But yeah, what is this? How does women's dual mating strategy tie into the burden of performance? Is the beta version solely based on wealth? There's two sides to that. Okay, so when we're talking about alpha fucks and beta, I'll start with alpha fucks. Easy. It's physical prowess. It's what I call validational sex rather than transactional sex. Okay, So you got the guy that women want to fuck and the guy that women will fuck, but only if he has value added. Okay. So the value added side of things is what we call the beta buck side. And I'm really kind of like trying to lean away from this definition because every time I say beta, people take it as if it's like, oh, it's a beta blue pill. He's a chump, right? Now, the beta characteristics or the beta part of the dual mating strategy is provisioning, protection, and parental investment. And those are there's others, but those are the three core, elements to the quote unquote beta bucks side there. If that's all you're about, then yeah, that can be negative. But if you understand alpha fucks and beta bucks and you understand the interaction between the two of those, then you can leverage that to your advantage. However, when we're talking about just the beta bucks side of things, is it solely based on wealth? No, it's also based on emotional investment too. So it's how invested is he into his own babies? How invested is he into his own the security of his family? Right. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, but as I said before, the alpha fuck side, those alpha fucks traits can also map onto beta bucks traits, the beta side of things, provisioning, protection, and parental investment. So don't think of them as being like positive or negative. There's some very negative aspects of being like overly alpha, right? But there's also negative aspects of being overly super beta as well. So keep that in mind. Beta bucks is about survival. Beta bucks is about survival, but it's also about long-term security. When we talk about vulnerability and everything else, women are the vulnerable sex and men are the disposable sex, or certainly the sex that nature takes the most chances with. Let's just say that. But women are indisputably the vulnerable sex. Some people say, oh, they're the weaker sex. Don't use the term weaker. They're vulnerable and have been vulnerable because they're the incubators of the next generation. So, and have been and will be. And that's been part of, that's intrinsic to the female psyche. You want to know why women in the house want you to lead in the house and be a dominant guy in the house and be have the respectability that's based on merit, is because of that. On some level of consciousness in the lizard brain, that woman is looking for a guy who's going to take control and is going to be someone she can ultimately trust with her long-term security. I think one of the reasons why women hate on men so much on these sort of man on the street interviews, like I've seen these ones, they're here in Vegas too, but I've seen these interviews or these quick hit questions of guys asking women, do women need men? Fuck men. We don't need men. And none of them say they need men. Even the nice ones say, no, we don't really need men. They do the same thing with guys. They say, do men need women? Yeah, of course we do. We love women. We want women, especially if they're hot, that kind of shit. And every time you ask a guy, do we need women? They'll say yes. Every time you ask women, do we need men? They'll say no, for the most part. And why is that? Well, because women today have been brought up thinking, or been socialized, acculturated, whatever you want to say, to believe that they are going to have to be in charge of their own vulnerabilities. They're going to have to be in charge of their own long-term security. You cannot men are intrinsically, inherently untrustworthy. Mm-hmm. What? About long-term security, about protection, provisioning, and parental investment. Those long-term security aspects, that's what you can't trust the average guy to provide for you. Therefore, you're going to have to go to 4 years of college. You're going to have to make X amount of money. You're going to have to start your own fucking business. You're going to have to get a storefront so you can sell your gourmet cupcakes or whatever the fuck it is. You're going to have to get into medicine. You're going to have to get into whatever it is. We need more men in coding and STEM fields. I'm going to channel my inner Aaron Clary here for a moment. But the fundamental reason behind that is because women have been taught from the very earliest ages that men are inherently untrustworthy, and women need to be strong, independent women. Independent of what? Independent of men. Independent of relying on men for what? For long-term security. We don't need men, but we want men. And this is the whole basis of me talking about men being superfluous on Dr. Phil. But the reason why I say that is because women have been taught that men are inherently untrustworthy. So therefore, they don't need them. What do they not need them for? Security, long-term security, provisioning, money. I make my own damn money, right? That's why you get these comedians who talk about how women want a guy who's sort of egalitarian until the check comes for the restaurant at the restaurant, and now he's supposed to pay, and she's not supposed to pay, right? That's why shit like that is I've got a video for you. Hang on. But the long and the short of it is like women don't need men, but they want men. Well, what's left? If women have got provisioning, protection, parental investment, long-term security, money, resources, they become the men that they want to marry. What kind of men do they want? They want to fuck Jason Momoa. They want to fuck Justin Waller. They want to fuck hot guys who they don't have to, would never have to rely on for long-term security. Not that they wouldn't want it from Justin or somebody else. I'm sure they would. Elon Musk, not a catch when it comes to the hot guy in the foam cannon party, but damn, the best catch on planet Earth if you just need protection, provisioning, and parental investment. Yeah, parental investment, he's got that down more than any guy that I know. But just to sort of give you a comedic break here for a second, where did this guy go? Let's see. Here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Can you put it up on the?
So I told the girl at the table, I said, look, I'm having a great time.
Hold on. There you go. I'll back it up.
Where did you go?
Okay.
I took this girl out, right? So I told the girl at the table, I said, look, I'm having a great time tonight. I'm happy I came out. Plus, she looked really beautiful. She cut me off right then and there. She said, let me tell you something real quick, Brandon. I said, what's up? She goes, I want to let you know that I don't give it up on the first date. And I instantly got upset because I didn't say anything about getting none tonight. I said, how beautiful you look, how much fun I'm having. That's what I said to you. But why you don't give it up on the first date? And she said, well, I don't want this relationship that we have to be just based off sex. I want you to respect me as a woman. Plus, I got a lot going on in my life right now, and I'll feel really bad if I give you someone the first date and never hear from you again. I would feel really bad. If that makes sense. I don't know. That's what she said, right? And I had to respect that. But this bill came to the table really, really fast. And I'm looking over the bill. The bill's like $190, right? It was a crazy bill. But I looked deep into the bill, and what I found out is that I only had mozzarella sticks and 2 beers. So I told the girl, I said, look, I'll put in $40, right? Because that'll cover the tax and the tip. Plus, that's more than my portion of what I had. And she lost her mind. She said, are you kidding me? You invited me out. I thought you were paying. I said, listen, I want to let you know something. I don't pay on the first date. So you see, I don't want this relationship based off me paying, you know what I'm saying? And I want you to respect me as a man, you know what I'm talking about? And got a lot going on in my life right now. And I feel really bad if I pay for this date tonight and never hear from you again. If that makes sense, I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, that was actually a pretty good segue right there. Oh man! But did you hear how many times he uses the word respect? Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, that probably actually did happen too. Yeah, but I mean that's what I'm talking about as far as there's we want to call it a double standard, of course, but like it's this desire to be sort of in this egalitarian context all the time until the bill shows up or sex is on the table, right? So so what do guys want? They want the sex, right? What do women want? They want the provisioning, protection, and parental investment, which is manifested in paying the freaking check or paying the. Which, by the way, I think if it's your first date, you should pay the fucking tab, okay? But that's for different reasons, not just that. What do we got here? Hang on.
Just have to run better game.
Yeah, exactly. AJ, plugging the one shot AD. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons in 2 weeks. Thank you. Yes, it'll be on. And actually, Aaron Clary is going to join us for this one too. Of all things, we're going to. We're going to do this. Any super chats that we get during that game, it's going to be about like a 2 to 4 hour game. We're doing a one-off. And any super chats we get, we're going to put to charity, probably Thor's charity. So there you go. Thank you. Here we go. Hi, and thank you for explaining emotions really well. What is the survival function of sorrow after someone we love dies, and why is it so hard to overcome sorrow or heartbreak? Okay, well, I'll give you the first part first here. The sorrow side of things really is mourning the feelings that you had for that person when they were still alive. We do something very similar when we break up with someone as well. So one of the reasons why guys kind of get a little bit, well, they either feel jealousy, they feel sadness, they feel sorry. It's a whole panoply of emotions. There you go. That's your vocabulary word for today. Panoply of emotions, and usually it's because feelings like love, especially infatuation, have chemical signatures to them, biochemical signatures. So I'm gonna give you the nuts and bolts version here first, and then I'll explain the function as you asked. The functional side of it is this: is if you watch, I forget which fucking TED Talk it was, but if you look at the science that is related to love is, people say it's oxytocin, it's this. It's a very complex chemical cocktail that can begin in the pituitary gland, for crying out loud. But the sort of the endorphin cocktail that you feel, that floods your system when you're feeling infatuation, when you're feeling sexual arousal, when you're feeling the good feelings of just seeing your partner. I mean, they've done fMRI scans for like when people see like pictures of their partner and how that affects their biochemistry. What happens is when guys are in that state, and they've been habituated to that state, and women too, by the way, are habituated to that state, they become accustomed to the drug that is created by seeing or interacting or being in love with or having sex with their partner. Okay. So when we look at love from a biochemical standpoint, I've read, I don't know how accurate this is. I'm not an endocrinologist. I don't play one on TV either, but it has a chemical signature that's very close to cocaine or heroin. And so when that person dies or that person is removed, it's now, and I'm going to go role of the behaviorist right now. You have essentially taken away a reward, and that reward is then the feelings of that reward are sought after that. So that can manifest in sadness, that can manifest in jealousy if the person leaves you. But one of the things that a lot of people, it's almost like a withdrawal. It's going through chemical withdrawal. And so what's the first thing an addict does when they go through withdrawal? They try to find a substitute, or they try to find some way to sort of reinstitute those good feelings somehow else, right? So what do guys go do? They go get blackout drunk. That's the first impetus that guys do when they have a really bad breakup, is they go get fucked up, right? Because they're trying to reestablish the reward of what that biochemical rush was, right? So it's no longer gone. It's no longer there, and they try to find a substitute through novel behavior, or drug addiction, or whatever it is. You try to replace that good feeling with something else. And like I said, that's why guys go get, I don't want to, I'm going to forget about her. Let's go get drunk. Or else it's, what is it? The best way to get over a chick is to get under another one, right? Well, what are you trying to do? You're trying to recreate it's never as good as her. I'm sure you heard that, right? Because you're trying to recreate that biochemical rush you used to get as a result of the reward, anyways, as a result of that. So what happens though is, and I'll give you the behavioral side. This is a sort of operant conditioning, and something I know very well. When they put a rat in a box and it presses the lever and a little pellet comes out, right? It's behavior reward. Then what happens is intermittent reward. So you hit the lever a few times and out, like 3 times, it comes out. Okay, now it's 3 times. Okay, then it comes out every third time, then it comes out every eighth time, then it comes out every second time. And so it's like sort of this intermediate. You never know when it's going to come. So what the mouth just like does one of these because it wants the reward as quick as it can get it, right? And then what happens is if you want to extinguish a behavior, you press the lever and nothing comes out. And it keeps pressing and nothing comes out. And you will see, I've seen the videos of these where the rat will just go, it will stay in that same behavior and just like rattle it. Or then the rat will turn around 3 times and hit the lever. Or the rat will run back and forth across the thing and then it'll come back and hit the lever. It'll do something else. I'll try all these novel behaviors to get that same reward to come back. And it's basically what's called an extinction burst. An extinction burst is when you remove the rewarding element from behaviorism and you get all these novel behaviors as a result of that. That's similar to what happens to especially guys, but when people are splitting up with each other, they try anything and everything. And so that extinction burst might be manifested in like, I'm going to go monk mode. Yeah, for half a day, right? I'm going to go focus only on my work, right? And then they just like intensely just focus on whatever their work is. Or I'm going to get back in the gym and I'm going to use this to motivate me to bigger gains, right? And maybe that works, but those are all manifestations of that same extinction burst. So, so what's the function behind sorrow? Well, I would say that it's definitely all emotion. Just think about this: all emotion map onto either reproduction or it maps onto survival. Okay, so sorrow is an emotion, just like happiness, just like anxiety, just like depression, just like anything else. Emotions are meant to drive you from one state into another state, into a survivable, more tenable state. So if you are depressed, it is meant to that depression is meant to drive you from an unsustainable place into a more sustainable place. It sucks. It's negative. It's not necessarily a reward, but it is your body and your mind telling you that you're presently in an unsustainable state and you need to get into another one. Same thing maps onto sorrow. And by the way, also maps onto happiness too. So if you're doing something that makes you feel good, feel happiness, it's probably because it's something that is beneficial to you either reproductively or survival. And was that it? I think that was it. Why is it so hard to overcome sorrow and heartbreak? Well, because again, you're addicted to that person, but also I've had, I don't know if you ever dealt with this before, but I've had guys who have hit me up saying, Rollo, my girlfriend or my wife or whatever of however many years is banging another guy. And I can't believe she's banging another guy. She told me she loved me. Or, man, I can't believe she's giving up that ass to that guy. And and she never did that with me. Like, I can't believe she's like this. She's so much more sexual with him than she is with me. And a lot of the times that's because it's reproduction is what it is. It's like wants to reproduce with this guy and not with you. And the realization of that is really what the cause of your stress is. But one of the things I get is it's been a year since we broke up and I still have dreams about her. I still can't stand the imagining or the dreaming or whatever it is of her fucking another guy. Like that's what kills these guys the most is the imagining their girlfriend or their wife with another dude. And again, the reason for that is because it's reproduction, right? The guy she's with, she wants to have sex with and she wants to reproduce with, not you. And that's some hard shit. And the reason why you still dream about her is because you haven't resolved that yet. You haven't come to terms with that yet. You haven't gotten under 50 other girls yet. You haven't drank it away yet. Whatever it is, you haven't done anything there. And I have probably the single most common question I get from guys is, how do I get my girlfriend back? How do I get my wife back? I don't want to break up with my wife. I don't want to divorce my wife. How do I get the sex back? Like, how do I get her to want to fuck me again? All right. Maybe we hold that for another podcast at some point, but the actual questioning, the reason why it's so common is because this is what these guys fixate upon. and they haven't been able to find their way. Like one of the, as again, the sorrow, the envy, the jealousy, the dreams that you have, all of those things that led up to you breaking up with that person and that person getting with someone else. I can't believe she got with some guy so quickly. Yeah, because she saw you as a beta, and the guy that she's with, she sees as an alpha. That's how she got over you so quickly. Women who break up with a guy who they consider alpha, which they almost never do, but if they break up with a guy who is alpha, or that guy happens to die for some reason, that woman has a real tough time getting over him. But she doesn't have a problem getting over you because she never saw you as alpha in the first place. So people have always asked me the difference between like the war brides dynamic and the alpha widow dynamic, and don't those two conflict? No, they actually don't. If you look at like the war brides dynamic is why do women get over breakup? They ask me, why do women get over breakups faster than guys? Well, because from an evolutionary perspective, they had to, because they were taken as prizes of war. They were kill all the men folk, but take the young unspoiled virgins and add them to your tribe. So saith the Lord, right? And so what happens is they get integrated into the other tribe, and the girls and the females that didn't have a problem with Stockholm syndrome or didn't have a problem with reintegrating into another tribe, they went on, reproduced, and had more babies. The women who couldn't died. Simple as that. And so you have examples of like, remember in colonial America when Indian tribes would take a white woman as a prisoner, right? The white women didn't want to leave the tribe because they liked being where they were at. You would call it Stockholm syndrome right now, but there are literally hundreds of accounts of women who were taken as prisoners by Indian tribes during that time period who didn't want to go back with their white colonizer. They didn't want to go back home. They wanted to stay with that tribe. Why is that? Well, because they had already reintegrated and had feelings for, and were already developed into what they were for those tribes. So that's the war brides dynamic. How does that integrate into the alpha widow dynamic? Is that if you weren't alpha in the first place, she's not going to be a widow. So if you weren't alpha enough, and usually the alphas are the ones, like if you had been killed, as I said, the demonstrating higher value back then was killing another guy, right? So the guy who kills the other guy is the alpha in that sense. So if that's the guy that takes her as a prisoner, then he replaces the previous guy that was there. So that today, now let's relate that into modern times. That's how women can get over you faster than you can get over her, because you have this level of investment in this woman that didn't pan out for you. That's why you still keep dreaming about her. That's why you still have her like sort of in the back of your mind all the time. And you can't stand the imagining of her being with that guy who she'll do sexual acrobatics with that she would never do with you, because she doesn't see you in the same way. So I know it sucks. I know it's ugly, but I didn't say it would be pretty. I said it would be the truth. I studied a bit of neuroscience, and research showed dopamine rewards are highest when the reward is unexpected. Expected ones diminish over time. Yes, that's why routine. You want to know why duty sex sucks? That's why. Welcome to the Rational Male. But anyways, I think we should wrap up. Do you have any announcements? Do you have anything you wanted to add before we get out of here?
Just go to reignite.com.
Yeah,
reignitealpha.com.
Yeah,
to check it out.
Yeah, it's in the Sam Bot has been putting it in the chat this whole time. So
okay,
that's
good.
But it's also the second or third link down in the description, so you can check that out there. Again, I will be at. You will be at on Wednesday. We'll be at the Bonfire in Las Vegas. It is off of Naples Street. I want to say it's 610 Naples Street in Las Vegas, across the street from UNLV, and just down the street from Centerfold Strip Club. so God. But anyways, to think that my wife and my daughter are going to be there. And there's a stripper pole there. Just saying, Kyle. So yeah, just I don't want to leave you out. So my band's going to be playing the Battle of the Bands, and I haven't done the Battle of the Bands since I was like 22.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what time you're going to be on?
The show starts at 8 p.m. and there's 4 bands total, me, including us. So I don't know what our draw is just yet.
Are you playing 3 songs again?
No, we're playing 30 minutes. Each one gets
Okay.
30 minutes. So
Oh,
we'll
nice.
probably play 6 songs. So
Yeah.
probably like twice as much as we did last time. And they gave us a sound check. You want me to wait. This is what they're going to judge us on. I have the actual slip here. Where did it go? Okay, there you go. You want to know what they're going to judge us on? This should be fun. Oh, wait. Here it is. Okay. They are going to judge us on. Okay.
Now, are they all metal bands?
No,
Okay.
no, it's
Different.
multi-genre.
Okay.
So yeah, we there might be us and one more, but I know one of them isn't. So, okay. So here's what they judge us on: talent. How well do you play your instruments and sing? Okay. Professionalism, setup and breakdown, time, introductions, acknowledgement, etc. Visual presentation, stage presence, clothes, costuming, actions on stage, props, etc. What do they want us to be? Ghosts? Welcome to the new Ghost Show. Songwriting. How well are the songs written musically and lyrically? That shouldn't be a problem. Sound. Was the sound too loud? It's going to be too loud. I can tell you right now. Was it balanced? Okay. Originality and creativity. What makes your band different and unique? Okay. Group dynamic. How well do group members react to one another or interact with one another while playing? Okay. Well, that's not going to be a problem either. Audience response. How enthusiastic is the audience? And then this is my favorite. Band sign. Like, is it creative? Like, do you want us to have like a, so I got a banner. I actually went because of that one, I went and ordered a banner. So we got a banner, and then I also have the bass drum cover has our logo on it too. So
I'll come play that.
That's what they're going to judge us on. So,
Nice.
yes. So just in case
I got the cowbell ready too.
I was going to bring the air horn.
I already have. It's funny. I bought Jake a cowbell.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
I bought him I for his birthday. I bought him a cowbell and I got him rototoms. And I'm like, I want you to play these. Nobody uses rototoms.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it'll be cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining me today.
Man.
That was good.
Thank you.
It's good to have somebody else sitting across from me. And thank you, Kyle, for being part of this fiasco. Hope you guys have learned something today. I think today was highly educational, much more educational than last show. I apologize for that last show. But anyways, hope you guys learned something today, and I will be back. Well, we don't have Access Vegas will be on the 20th. So that's the next one that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one after that will be April 4th, which will be 2 days after my birthday. So I have a feeling that'll be my birthday show. So,
okay.
So then we got April 4th. So March 20th and then April 4th. We were going to do it on the 13th, but Mike says, I got a really good date. I'm like, okay, I understand.
Nice.
So anyways, we'll be doing on the 20th and then on the 4th. And then in between that time, I don't know what else is going on, but my birthday show will be on April 4th. So there you go. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Roger.
Would you do it again? I need to feel you on top of me. It was my first time.
Wait till the music's out. Wait till the music's out, and then.
But I was just a kid when we met and went to bed. It was my first time. What do you expect from me? I'm breaking up the rules now in the game. I've got some new tools. Please do the same. Time came by. Over like a matchbox stereo. Time to get my thoughts now, let it go. Bound to keep me up all night. But maybe we can fuck again. And maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? I need to know. If maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. In my life.
I just took a bath in battery acid.
Now we're fucking in the bathroom, tearing up everywhere while I got your hair. Why you screaming my name?
Hey, y'all. That's nasty. It is nasty, right? Isn't it nasty?
She was swinging in the bedroom, whole time stopping and stepping with her head like she's Claudia Kelly.
Well, I'm a whore.
Ride me up and down like a pony, turning up my song, getting nasty, working up and down on your body.
Bye, Felicia.
Ride me up and down like a pony, turning up my song.
Gotcha, bitch.
All right.
This Sitting Podcast has been a production of The Rational Male. All rights reserved. Registered trademark 2025. Don't steal Kyle stuff.
Dump that bitch!
We're never gonna score! We're never gonna score!
Tell these bitches to go to hell.
Oh, gnarly!
God wants you to have the baby.